Chapter 605. In the Red Maple Valley, the red leaves were like fire, and the murderous intent soared to the heavens. Chu Xiu had already set up a killing array here in advance. The warriors who entered the Red Maple Valley were like turtles in a jar, and no one could escape. As Chu Xiu waved his hand, the entire Red Maple Valley lit up with the radiance of the array. The disciples of the Red Leaf Manor who had received the crowd earlier also displayed an extremely powerful aura. They guarded the surroundings to prevent the crowd from escaping. The elites of the Yinma clan were not weak, and there were many warriors who were good at all kinds of miscellaneous things, such as array formations. Although the killing array they had set up was not very strong, it was at least enough to kill warriors who were below the unity of heaven and man realm. As the array revolved, a five-colored radiance soared to the heavens. There were raging flames burning the sky, saber lights scattering, and water poison entering the body. This was a standard 5 elements killing array. Its power wasn't amazing, but it wasn't weak either. Most importantly, this array didn't have too many weaknesses. Furthermore, it had 5 array cores. If you broke one of them, the other 4 would continue to operate. The moment the array was activated, there was a burst of shrill cries. Some of the weaker warriors were killed on the spot by this killing array. At this moment, the Yang family's patriarch shouted, "Don't run around. Gather together and rush towards the entrance of the valley. We can only survive if we rush out." The Yang family's patriarch could be considered an experienced man. He did not panic in the face of danger and immediately thought of the most suitable way to deal with it. However, Chu Xiu had set it up for so long. If they were to scatter just like that, wouldn't it be a joke? At the entrance of the valley, Zhao Qingping was holding the devil's spear, while Luo Sansong was holding the ghost head beheading blade. There were more than 20 people behind them, all of whom were unity of heaven and man realm warriors. It could be said that Chu Xiu's most elite men were here. After Chu Xiu dealt with Lu Jianhong, he asked Zhao Qingping to rush to Eastern Qi. After seeing Lin Ye's arrangements in Eastern Qi, Zhao Qingping had to admit that Senior Wei had made the right choice in choosing Lin Yi. If it were him, Zhao Qingping would only think of ways to increase the speed of his attacks. He would still have to exterminate the sects one by one. He estimated that before he could even finish off 1/3 of the sects, the righteous sects would intervene. Now, with Lin Ye's plan, almost everyone on the list had gathered in Maple Valley, waiting to be captured in one fell swoop. Chu Xiu walked towards the crowd step by step. His hands formed seals, and his psychic energy turned into zither music that drifted away. Any martial artist who heard the rhythm would either scream in pain, or bleed from the 7 apertures of their heads. They would be killed by Chu Xiu's soul-suppressing Hades song. Chu Xiu did not waste his energy on the rest of the low-level cultivators, he just stared at the Yang family old ancestor in the crowd. He was the only martial Dao master here. As long as he killed him first, it would be much easier to deal with the others later on. Although the Yang family old ancestor was old, he was a martial Dao master in the past. He had fought in the Jianghu for half his life and had a lot of experience in fighting. At this moment, sensing Chu Xiu's murderous intent directed at him, the Yang family old ancestor clenched his teeth. However, he did not face Chu Xiu. Instead, he ignored the other martial artists below and even the martial artists of the Yang family fort. He released all his gang energy, turned into a green stripe, and fled toward the exit of the valley. Although one's cultivation would increase with time, one's physical body would deteriorate with time. The patriarch of the Yang family thought that he had accumulated enough experience, but he was still not confident in facing someone like Lin Yi who had once killed a martial Dao grandmaster. Even though he only had a little more than 10 years to live, he still did not want to die. Seeing this, Chu Xiu could not help but shake his head. Sure enough, there were all kinds of people in the Jianghu. The first patriarch of the Wang family that he destroyed was only at the unity of heaven and man realm. Even though he knew that he was no match for Chu Xiu, he still wanted to stop Chu Xiu with his life and fight for a chance of survival for his family. However, the Yang family old ancestor chose to escape by himself, leaving his own disciples behind. The gap between them was really not small. However, Since Chu Xiu had made a move, how could he let the Yang family old ancestor leave alive? It was fine to let some low-level disciples go since they could not affect the overall situation. But this time, people like the patriarch and sect leader must die, let alone a martial Dao master like the Yang family old ancestor. Chu Xiu's hands were like a bow pulled to a full moon. His powerful psychic force condensed into an arrow, and with his spirit as the bow, he shot it out. The powerful psychic force turned into a soul-destroying arrow and shot towards the Yang family old ancestor. The spiritual pressure shocked the Yang family old ancestor, who was fleeing in front, and he immediately burst out with Gang Qi, wanting to turn around to defend himself. But when he turned around, he found that Chu Xiu's arrow was actually a soul-destroying arrow that was aimed directly at his spirit. At the moment when the Gang Qi defense failed, the Yang family old ancestor frantically condensed the little blood essence in his body, transforming it into boundless blood qi in an attempt to intercept the arrow, but it still failed. The soul-destroying arrow pierced his body, and he let out a painful cry. For martial artists who did not know spiritual secret techniques, they would only simply use the majestic power of qi and blood to resist the attack of the opponent's spirit's secret technique. Although the effect was uncertain, it still had a certain effect. However, for the current Yang family old ancestor, his own qi and blood had already declined. It was simply wishful thinking to use that pitiful qi and blood to resist Chu Xiu's soul-destroying arrow. The invisible arrow penetrated the Yang family old ancestor's mind, and his psychic force suddenly burst out. In an instant, the Yang family old ancestor's mouth and nose were bleeding, and his aura was extremely weak. His body involuntarily fell to the ground. Chu Xiu stepped out, and with a punch, he used the heaven-extinguishing earth-annihilating oblivion-killing fist to the extreme. At this time, the Red Maple Valley was full of blood and killing intent. Using the heaven-extinguishing earth-annihilating oblivion-killing fist in this situation, its power was 3 times stronger than usual. This fist technique was most suitable to be used in a military formation. In a military formation overflowing with killing intent, the oblivion-killing fist could affect the entire battlefield's killing intent, and its power would even increase exponentially. At this time, as Chu Xiu blasted out his fist, the killing intent swept out, directly condensing into a huge tornado in mid-air, falling toward the Yang family old ancestor. The power of Chu Xiu's punch had exceeded the explosive power of some martial Dao grandmasters. The Yang family old ancestor could not care about his internal injuries. He spat out a mouthful of blood and burned the last trace of his blood essence. Drawing on the power of heaven and earth, he struck out with a palm that was like the vast sea, and the power was not weak. The killing fist shook the vast sea of Gang Qi, and the Yang family old ancestor's figure staggered back step by step. In the end, both his arms were directly shattered, and his body flew out. But before he landed, a fist had already pierced through his entire chest. Chu Xiu threw the Yang family old ancestor's body aside, and casually flicked the blood on his hand. This was probably the weakest martial Dao grandmaster Chu Xiu had ever killed. It was simply too weak, so weak that it was beyond Chu Xiu's imagination. In order to survive until now, the Yang family old ancestor had used some unknown method to only nourish his own blood essence around his heart meridian, maintaining the most basic vitality. So at this time, when it came to a life and death battle, not only was his physical body declining, even his flesh and meridians had actually withered, and his explosive power was even weaker than some of the stronger unity of heaven and man realm martial artists. Just for the sake of living for a dozen more years, he had turned himself into something that was neither a human nor a ghost. He could only hide in a secluded room and live out his ignoble existence. Chu Xiu simply couldn't understand such actions. What was the difference between living like this and being dead? Following Chu Xiu's killing of the Yang family patriarch, the other cultivators present suffered an even greater defeat. They seemed to have lost all will to fight, only wanting to escape. However, the result was another round of slaughter. After a while, Zhao Qingping and Luo Sansong walked over with blood all over their bodies. Although the two of them looked tired, they were much more energetic. Luo Sansong held the ghost head beheading blade and laughed, "Awesome. Previously, I was so aggrieved down there every day. Today, I finally had a good time killing. At this time, whether it was Luo Sansong, Zhao Qingping, or the other martial artists of the Yinma clan, they could be said to be truly convinced by Chu Xiu. Sometimes, even if you use thousands of tricks, it would not be as effective as real strength. If anyone stood in Chu Xiu's position, they would not be able to complete the task so beautifully. Moreover, they had also seen Chu Xiu's real strength. Lu Jianhong, a martial Dao Grand Master in his prime, was easily defeated by Chu Xiu, and an old martial Dao Grand Master like the Yang family old ancestor could not even last a few moves in Chu Xiu's hands. He was easily killed like a baby. At this moment, don't bother about seniority. In the face of absolute strength, seniority was simply a joke. Zhao Qingping cupped his fists respectfully at Chu Xiu and said, "Sir, 99% of the martial artists who entered Red Maple Valley have been killed. Only a few escaped using some strange methods. Should we chase after them?" Chu Xiu shook his head and said, "There's no need to chase after them. It doesn't matter if a few escaped. Wei Shiya only said to annihilate those forces for revenge, but he did not say to capture them all in one go. Naturally, there was no need to be so detailed." Lu Jianhong also stood up at this time. He lowered his head and walked to Chu Xiu's side in a daze. Chu Xiu promised Lu Jianhong to put on a show with him. Now that someone had escaped, he would naturally bring back the news of Lu Jianhong's death. "Manor Lord Lu, do you regret it?" Chu Xiu asked without turning his head. Lu Jianhong shook his head and said, "I don't regret it. Since I have embarked on this path, there is no chance for me to regret it. Lu Jianhong is already dead. From now on, Red Leaf Manor has nothing to do with me. The only one alive now is the hidden demon faction's swordsman, Lu Hongye." After experiencing this, Lu Jianhong, no, it should be said that Lu Hongye's state of mind had undergone an earth-shattering change. Just as he said, Lu Jianhong was already dead, and the only one alive was Lu Hongye. As for whether Lu Jianhong would hate him in his heart, Chu Xiu was not worried at all. As long as he could ensure that his strength would always suppress the other party, Chu Xiu was not afraid of anyone's betrayal. Chapter 606. Outside the Red Leaf Valley, it was quiet. However, even after a few days, the pungent smell of blood still lingered in the air. Many people had gathered outside the valley. There were Su Xing from the Great Light Temple, warriors from the Chunyang Dao sect and the True Martial Arts sect, as well as people from the Xiahou clan, the Shangshuaying clan, and other large Eastern Qi sections. It had been a few days since the battle at the Red Maple Valley. It was not that Su Xing and the others were slow, but that they had not expected Chu Xiu to do such a thing. They had thought that when Lu Jianhong had gathered everyone in the Red Maple Valley to form an alliance, Lin Yi would still be wandering around the land of West Chu with his men. They had not expected that everything had been a trap from the beginning. Standing in front of the valley, Su Xing said with a dark expression, "We're too late. No, I should say that we've all been fooled." Everyone present had ugly expressions on their faces. They had indeed been fooled, and they had been fooled very badly. The large sects had not made a move at the beginning because the commotion that Chu Xiu had caused was very small. It was not a big deal for a young disciple to bring more than 20 people to seek revenge on those small forces. They had only thought that the Yinma clan was looking for someone to vent their anger on. In the end, who would have thought that in the blink of an eye, Lin Yi would actually do such a big thing while they had not made a decision? In one night, the family heads, sect leaders, and other elites of dozens of forces had been annihilated. Although these forces still had some bloodline descendants, without these elites, the forces themselves had been crippled. Everyone else looked gloomy, especially the martial arts forces in the land of Eastern Qi. Because they had not been paying attention, Lin Yi had done such a big thing right under their noses. He had killed so many people, which was a great humiliation to them. "Let's go in and take a look." An old monk with white hair and beard sighed and recited the Ksitigarbha Sutra, as if he was helping those who had been killed to ascend to the afterlife. This person was the eminent monk of the Sabodhi monastery, Siddhartha. Although he was not famous in the Jianghu, as long as he was a grandmaster from the Sabodi monastery, he would not be a weakling. There were still a few shivering warriors in front of them. They were all survivors who had escaped from Red Maple Valley. If it weren't for them, no one would have known that such a big thing had happened in Red Maple Valley. The group stepped into Red Maple Valley with those people, and the pungent smell of blood instantly assaulted their nostrils, causing their expressions to become even more unsightly. Su Xing's expression was unsightly as he gazed at the corpses that covered the ground. How exactly did Lin Yi do it? There are over 1,000 experts here. Even if they were all pigs, it's impossible to kill them all so quickly, right? One of the survivors said in a sobbing tone, "It's that bastard Lu Jianhong. He had long surrendered to the Hidden Devil clan. After luring us here, he set up a killing formation and ambushed a large number of experts to kill us. Senior Yang of the Yang clan fortress was killed before he could even block 3 moves from Lin Yi. Fortunately, I had a burrowing formation board left behind by my ancestor, so I was lucky enough to escape with my life. Master Su Xing, you have to seek justice for us." Upon hearing this, everyone's expressions changed slightly. Although he was just an old martial Dao grandmaster, it was already shocking enough to kill him in 3 moves. Lin Ye's strength was indeed worthy of his ranking on the Longhu list. Su Xing snorted coldly, a demon who surrendered to the demonic Dao. This Lu Jianhong deserves to be killed more than those from the demonic Dao. At this moment, a warrior wearing a black robe with cloud patterns shook his head and said, "There's no need to kill him. Lu Jianhong is already dead. He was killed by Lin Yi." Actually, the Xianxia clan has already investigated this matter. The Red Leaf Manor is also a victim. Lin Yi had long targeted the Red Leaf Manor and Lu Jianhong. He took down the Red Leaf Manor at lightning speed and threatened Lu Jianhong to help Lin Yi set up the trap with the lives of all the Red Leaf Manor disciples. However, in the end, Lin Yi still lied to him and killed him at the last moment. Su Xing snorted coldly and said, if he didn't agree, only his family would have suffered. In the end, he took the side of the evildoer, causing dozens of forces and thousands of people to die. Even if he's dead, he's still an accomplice. Most of the people present scoffed at Su Xing's idea. The monks from the Great Light Temple were just saying things that were easier said than done. In fact, from their point of view, it was easy for them to understand Lu Jianhong. The lives of one's family were in the hands of the other party. Unless it was a saint who cut off his own flesh to feed the eagles, almost everyone would choose the latter. Moreover, looking at the scene before them, apart from remaining silent, there was nothing else they could do. Although they all belonged to the righteous side of the martial arts circle, in reality, there was no alliance in the righteous martial arts circle. They had their own grudges and it was impossible for them to join forces to find trouble with the Hidden Devil clan because of this matter. Previously, their plan was actually very simple. If the Hidden Devil clan killed too many people, they would come forward to warn them so that they would restrain themselves. The alliance that Lu Jianhong organized was not weak, so they would come forward to befriend them and maintain a certain level of contact with them. In the end, all the people were dead and Lin Yi even went on a killing spree in the Red Maple Valley. They were just like spectators. It was already too late to do anything. The middle-aged man from the Xianxia clan was the first to cough and say, "This matter is very serious. I need to report it to the clan leader." With that, the man from the Xianxia clan immediately left. The stance of the 9 super clans was very ambiguous. Regardless of whether they were righteous or demonic, most of them were thinking about their own interests. Now that everyone was dead, it did not affect the interests of the Yin clan. Of course, he did not want to stay any longer. When the others saw the attitude of the Xianxia clan, they also found various reasons to turn around and leave. The people who died had nothing to do with them. It was not worthwhile for them to fight against the Hidden Devil clan to avenge them. They would only act without hesitation when the Hidden Devil clan touched their interests. Moreover, as Su Yun had said, the most alarming thing in the entire diabolism was not the Hidden Devil clan, which had always been hiding in the dark. It was the moon-worshipping cult. Ever since the great battle between the righteous and demonic on Mount Fuyu, the moon-worshipping cult had always shown an unparalleled attitude. It even somewhat suppressed the power of the Taoist master mansion in West Chu. It could be said to be the #1 sect in the diabolism. Although the moon-worshipping cult had not developed to the level of the Kunlun devil cult in the past, it was enough to make the righteous martial arts circle vigilant. Therefore, for some experts in the righteous martial arts circle with long-term knowledge, they would not take the initiative to target the hidden devil clan. It was precisely because of the existence of the hidden devil clan that the moon-worshipping cult could not dominate the entire diabolism. Otherwise, without internal strife, the diabolism would be even more terrifying. Subodhi Monastery's Siddhartha sat on the ground and sent off the warriors who had died in Red Maple Valley. 2 older disciples of Subodhi Monastery followed behind him and tidied up the corpses. Only Su Xing did not leave. His expression was terrifyingly gloomy. If someone else had been the mastermind, Su Xing would have temporarily put everything aside even if he was furious. He would have returned to the Great Light Temple to report to Su Yun and the others first. However, after hearing that Lin Yi was the leader of this group of people, Su Xing did not want to go back so soon. In Xiaofan Heaven, he, a martial arts master who had been famous for a long time, had been defeated by a junior like Lin Yi. This was a great humiliation for Su Xing. He had always wanted to find an opportunity to take revenge. Su Xing turned his gaze to the few survivors from before and said in a deep voice, "Do you know if there are any forces that did not participate in Red Maple Valley's alliance and were spared?" The few people looked at each other and nodded. There are 2 or 3 forces that did not come. They were either too far away and could not make it in time, or they had the protection of a large sect and thought that they would be safe. Su Xing waved his hand and said, "That's good. Take me to those forces. Since Lin Yi is going to take revenge for what happened 300 years ago, he will definitely not let these few surviving forces go." When they heard that Su Xing wanted to take the initiative to look for Lin Yi, they immediately panicked. Actually, they were all in favor of Su Xing looking for Lin Yi. After all, Su Xing was taking revenge for them. However, after experiencing the incident at Red Maple Valley, Lin Yi was like a demon to them. They really didn't want to face that demon again. Su Xing could not help but frown when he saw their expressions. "What's wrong? You guys are not willing to go? Don't you want to take revenge for your sect's elders?" When they felt the violent aura from Su Xing, they laughed bitterly and said, "We are willing." Looking at Su Xing's attitude, if they dared to say that they were not willing, Su Xing might do something. At this moment, the disciples who came with Su Xing pulled him back. Uncle Master, Su Yun only asked us to come and intimidate the hidden devil clan. He didn't say that we should take the initiative to attack them." Before they came, Su Yun had already said that if Lin Yi took the initiative to attack after the people from the Great Light Temple arrived, they would naturally attack as well. However, they were too late and the people were already dead. If they attacked Lin Yi, apart from provoking a conflict between the Great Light Temple and the hidden devil clan, what else was there? However, it was obvious that Su Xing could not bear to listen to these things. He snorted coldly and said, "Senior brother Su Yun also did not say that I am not allowed to attack the hidden devil clan. Don't be noisy. Lin Yi killed thousands of people in Red Maple Valley. He is extremely ruthless. If the Great Light Temple does not care about this, who will? You don't have to go. Go back and report what happened here to the temple. I will take people to surround Lin Yi." When he finished speaking, Su Xing immediately left with those people. He did not give the disciples of the Great Light Temple a chance to speak again. Chapter 607. In the Battle of Red Maple Valley, Chu Xiu had tricked and killed thousands of experts, causing dozens of factions to be destroyed. This was definitely a major event in the world. As the news spread, Chu Xiu took his people back to West Chu. Chu Xiu had dealt with 99% of the factions on the list, but this time, there were still 3 factions in the Red Maple Valley Alliance that had not arrived. Of the 2 factions, one in the western regions, one in the southern barbarians, were not very strong. Because they were far away, they had not received the news at all. For these two forces, Chu Xiu directly sent a few Unity of Heaven and Man Realm martial artists, asking them to take a trip with their people and completely eliminate these two forces. As to the last faction, they were fearless because they had found a backer, the Ba Mountain Sword Sect. This faction was the Xiang family of the Ba Prefecture of West Chu. They were not far from the Ba Mountain Sword Sect. A daughter of the Xiang family was married to the son of the sect leader of the Ba Mountain Sword Sect. The two were in-laws. Over the years, many of the Xiang family's disciples had cultivated in the Ba Mountain Sword Sect, so the relationship between the Xiang family and the Ba Mountain Sword Sect could be said to be very close. The Ba Mountain Sword Sect was located on West Chu's Ba Mountain. The scenery was grand and beautiful, with peaks reaching into the clouds. It could be said to be a treasure land. But the Ba Mountain Sword Sect's own strength was not worthy of a treasure land like Ba Mountain. The Ba Mountain Sword Sect was called a sword sect, but it was not one of the 5 great sword sects, but one of the 7 sects and 8 schools. Just from this, one could see the power of the Ba Mountain Sword Sect. The 8-character sword art of the Ba Mountain Sword Sect was very famous in the world. The Ba Mountain swordsmen had always been famous for their fast swords. But unfortunately, no matter how fast the sword was, it was easy to be countered by many martial arts in the later stages. So the warriors of the Ba Mountain Sword Sect were not weak in the early stages, for example, from the Khanate realm to the 5 energies gathering. But when they reached the unity of the world, they were much weaker. And when they reached the martial grandmaster level, the martial arts of the Ba Mountain Sword Sect appeared mediocre. In the history of the Ba Mountain Sword Sect, there were some astounding people who comprehended extreme speed from the sword path of the Ba Mountain Sword Sect, and even reached the level of time and karma. Pity, such people were rare, and this kind of sword path could not be passed down. So in this generation, the Ba Mountain Sword Sect was actually very weak. At this time, in the conference hall of the Ba Mountain Sword Sect, the sect master of the Ba Mountain Sword Sect, Qin Jiankong, sat on the main seat with a frown. Qin Jiankong's appearance was extremely unique. Although he wasn't ugly, his cheeks were long and narrow, and his arms were equally long. When they hung down, they were even close to his knees. Coupled with his slightly hunched back, he resembled an ape. He was skilled in all of the Ba Mountain Sword Sect's 8-word sword art. When he attacked, he could use his energy to control 8 swords to cast the Ba Mountain Sword Sect's sword formation. Together with his unique appearance, he had the nickname of the 8 Arms Ape. Right now, in the entire Ba Mountain Sword Sect, Qin Jiankong was the only martial grandmaster, and the strongest in the sect. A dozen people sat below him, all of them unity of the world. Other than the slightly nervous Xiang family patriarch, the others were all elders of the Ba Mountain Sword Sect. In the Ba Mountain Sword Sect, as long as you reached unity of the world, then no matter your seniority, you would be made an elder. Because of this, the Ba Mountain Sword Sect had been laughed at by other sects, and thought that the elders of the Ba Mountain Sword Sect were too worthless. In other sects, even if they only had one martial Dao Grand Master in their sect, the title of an elder was not given out casually. One must have sufficient qualifications and strength to be conferred the title of an elder. But it had to be said that the disciples of the Ba Mountain Sword Sect felt proud that the Ba Mountain Sword Sect was so casually giving an elder. When you went out to roam the world, if you called yourself a disciple of the Ba Mountain Sword Sect, or a steward of the Ba Mountain Sword Sect, it would not sound as good as being an elder of the Ba Mountain Sword Sect. This was like Chu Xiu's previous life. A small company with 3 to 5 people would have a chairman and a general manager. What the Ba Mountain Sword Sect was worried about was the revenge of the Hidden Demon Clan. Previously, the Ba Mountain Sword Sect had been willing to protect the Xiang family because the Xiang family had a deep relationship with the Ba Mountain Sword Sect. The two were in-laws, and many of the Xiang family's disciples were cultivating in the Ba Mountain Sword Sect. Even the Xiang family's own methods were given to the Ba Mountain Sword Sect for reference. It could be said that the Xiang family was a branch of the Ba Mountain Sword Sect. Now that the Xiang family was in danger, if the Ba Mountain Sword Sect did not do anything, then the disciples would be disappointed. Also, the power that Lin Yi had displayed back then was not very strong. It was just him and 20 other demonic martial artists. With the power of Ba Mountain Sword Sect, they could completely stop them. But now, the battle at Red Maple Valley had exposed the full power of Lin Ye's subordinates. His number of unity of the world martial artists was double that of the Ba Mountain Sword Sect. This caused the Ba Mountain Sword Sect to feel great pressure. So this time, the Ba Mountain Sword Sect's conference was to discuss how to deal with this matter. Should the Ba Mountain Sword Sect protect the Xiang family or not, and if so, how to protect them? In the silence, Ba Mountain Sword Sect's Teacherson suddenly said slowly, "In my opinion, this matter is much easier to resolve. Karma and retribution are things that have been discussed in the martial arts for a long time. The karma that some people sowed in the past naturally has to be paid by some people themselves. 300 years ago, some people used this karma to obtain a fortuitous encounter and develop to this level. Now that someone has come to ask for this karma, we can just return it. Why do we have to implicate the Ba Mountain Sword Sect?" Teacherson's words implied that he did not want to protect the Xiang family. Teacherson had no enmity with the Xiang family, but he had enmity with the other elder of the Ba Mountain Sword Sect, Peng Chong. The two had always been at odds. Peng Chong and the patriarch of the Xiang family were sworn brothers, and the two had a good relationship. At this time, Teacherson was targeting the Xiang family, but in reality, he was targeting Peng Chong. Hearing this, Peng Chong snorted coldly. "Teacherson, what do you mean? You want to trap the Ba Mountain Sword Sect in inhumanity and injustice? Dozens of the Xiang family disciples are cultivating in the Ba Mountain Sword Sect. Brother Xiang has given the Xiang family's cultivation method to the Ba Mountain Sword Sect. But now you say you want to hand over Brother Xiang and the entire Xiang family to have them fend off those demons alone. You can do such a thing that goes against morality, but the Ba Mountain Sword Sect cannot. Also, if the Ba Mountain Sword Sect does this, isn't it the same as bowing to the hidden demon faction and admitting defeat? What will the martial arts world think of the Ba Mountain Sword Sect?" Teacherson sneered and said, "All right, if you don't hand over the Xiang family, tell me, how will we fend off that Lin Yi?" More than 200 elites of the hidden demon faction killed more than 1,000 people in Red Maple Valley. They have twice as many unity of the world martial artists than the Ba Mountain Sword Sect. How will we fight? That Lin Yi is a martial artist of the younger generation, but he easily defeated Lu Jianhong of the Red Leaf Manor and killed the forefather of the Yang family in a few moves. With this kind of power, can you treat him as a unity of the world martial artist? Is morality more important or the Ba Mountain Sword Sect more important? Tell me. Peng Chong, if the Ba Mountain Sword Sect is damaged because of this, you will be the eternal sinner of the Ba Mountain Sword Sect. Peng Chong found a loophole in Teacherson's words and hurriedly said, "What do you mean? Do you think the sect leader is not as good as that Lin Yi?" Teacherson was about to retort when he heard Qin Jiankong shout from the seat of honor, "All of you, shut up." Hearing this, Peng Chong and Teacherson did not dare to argue anymore. As the only martial arts grandmaster of the Ba Mountain Sword Sect, Qin Jiankong's prestige was very high. Looking at the people present, Qin Jiankong's brows furrowed tightly. Actually, excluding Teacherson and Peng Chong's standpoint, both of their words were very reasonable. For the Ba Mountain Sword Sect, if they did not take care of the Xiang family, they would not only disappoint their own disciples, they would also be laughed at by outsiders. They would say that the Ba Mountain Sword Sect was cowardly and afraid of death. Before Lin Yi had shown his strength, the Ba Mountain Sword Sect had promised to protect the Xiang family. Now, seeing that the other had grown stronger, they were going back on their word. But if the Ba Mountain Sword Sect took care of this matter, then Qin Jiankong really did not have much confidence. While the Ba Mountain Sword Sect was much stronger than the Azure Water Sword Sect that had completely declined, facing the hidden demon lineage, even if it was just a young junior like Lin Yi. But after learning of the other's strength, Qin Jiankong did not have much confidence. At this time, the patriarch of the Xiang family gritted his teeth and knelt in front of Qin Jiankong. He said in a low voice, "Sect leader, please save the Xiang family this time. The Xiang family is willing to completely merge with the Ba Mountain Sword Sect. From now on, we will be loyal to the Ba Mountain Sword Sect, and will never betray it. In the past, the Xiang family had been close to the Ba Mountain Sword sect, but they were two different factions. Now, if the Xiang family completely merged with the Ba Mountain Sword sect, it would be a great increase in power for the Ba Mountain Sword sect. Usually, Qin Jiankong would welcome such a thing with open arms. But now, this was like a hot potato. Qin Jiankong did not know how to handle it. So Qin Jiankong did not directly agree. He rubbed his chin and said hesitantly, about this, the patriarch of the Xiang family gritted his teeth and said directly, Sect leader, the Xiang family once obtained a three-colored spirit crystal when we attacked the Nine Heavens demonic Dao alliance. I am willing to offer it up. With the three-colored spirit crystal as the eye of the formation, we can activate the purple sky lightning sword formation of the Ba Mountain Sword sect to resist the hidden demon lineage. Hearing this, Qin Jiankong was slightly tempted. The so-called three-colored spirit crystal was a crystal that could only form after being nurtured for thousands or even tens of thousands of years in a place rich in primal energies of the universe. It contained the purest energy of the five elements. The most precious of them was naturally the five-colored spirit crystal. The Xiang family could take out a three-colored spirit crystal. It was a great treasure. Most importantly, even if this spirit crystal was only one color, it was enough to activate the protective formation of the Ba Mountain Sword sect, the purple sky lightning sword formation. The rest naturally belonged to the Ba Mountain Sword sect. Chapter 608. In order to save their lives, the Xiang family had given up all their territory. Right now, the Ba Mountain Sword sect was their only hope. Qin Jiankong thought for a moment. He stood up and helped the Xiang family patriarch up. He chuckled and said, Brother Xiang, you do not have to be like this. You and I are in-laws. If something happens to the Xiang family, the Ba Mountain Sword sect will not ignore it. The Xiang family patriarch hurriedly thanked him with tears of gratitude, but inside, he was sneering. If the Xiang family had not taken out all their trump cards this time, Qin Jiankong most likely would not have chosen to protect the Xiang family. Seeing this, Teacherson hurriedly said, Sect leader, no. If we choose to protect the Xiang family and become enemies with the hidden demon clan, even if the purple sky lightning sword formation can stop Lin Yi, what if it attracts more experts from the hidden sects? Qin Jiankong said coolly, then it will be easy. If the hidden demon clan dares to send so many experts, the other righteous sects will not ignore it. Also, I am preparing to send a letter to the Celestial Master Abode. In Red Maple Valley, Lin Yi killed thousands of people with vicious methods. I believe the Celestial Master Abode has received the news long ago. If Lin Yi dares to come, I believe the Celestial Master Abode will not stand by. After all, the Ba Mountain Sword sect has some relations with the Celestial Master Abode. Hearing Qin Jiankong say this, Teacherson could not say anything more. But he felt slightly uneasy. The sect leader had been too careless, especially putting his hopes on the Celestial Master Abode. It was true that the Celestial Master Abode had relations with the Ba Mountain Sword sect. Right now, the protective formation of the Ba Mountain Sword sect, the purple sky lightning sword formation, had been set up by the Celestial Master Abode and the experts of the Ba Mountain Sword sect. But later, the relationship between the Ba Mountain Sword sect and the Celestial Master Abode had faded. For a period of time, the power of the Celestial Master Abode had declined greatly, and the Ba Mountain Sword sect had produced an expert who comprehended the time sword path, so they were no longer so respectful to the Celestial Master Abode. But now, the Celestial Master Abode had risen again, and the Ba Mountain Sword sect had returned to its original state. Would the Celestial Master Abode respond if they asked for help now? However, Qin Jiankong had already made up his mind, so it wasn't appropriate for Teacherson to say anything further. 10 days later, at the foot of Ba Mountain, Chu Xiu brought Luo Sansong and Zhao Qingping back to West Chu. He immediately brought people to Ba Mountain. The hidden demon clan had their own intelligence network. When Chu Xiu had hurried to the West Chu, someone had sent news to Chu Xiu that the Ba Mountain Sword sect had decided to protect the Xiang family. At this time, all the members of the Xiang family were in the Ba Mountain Sword sect. When Chu Xiu received the news, he was very surprised. Were Chen Jiankong and the elders of the Ba Mountain Sword Sect stupid? He actually made such a decision. In the battle at Red Maple Valley, Chu Xiu had exposed all of his power. Ba Mountain Sword Sect should know what they were capable of. Among the major sects in the songs of the martial world, Ba Mountain Sword Sect had been around for a long time, and could almost be ranked in the top. But in terms of power, while Ba Mountain Sword Sect was not the weakest, it was at the bottom. As long as Chen Jiankong wasn't muddle-headed, he ought to know exactly what sort of price Chu Xiu would pay to protect the Xiang clan, yet he still chose to do this. So, either Chen Jiankong was really stupid, or there was some secret that Chu Xiu wasn't aware of that caused Chen Jiankong to take the risk to protect the Xiang clan. But what it was not important. In front of absolute power, Chu Xiu could choose not to use his brain. In Chu Xiu's view, in this situation, he did not need schemes, and could use his fists to solve the problem. Looking at the grand and beautiful Ba Mountain, Chu Xiu couldn't help but sigh in admiration. The scenery of Ba Mountain is really good. The Ba Mountain Sword Sect has chosen a treasured land. At the side, Luo Sansong also sighed in agreement. Zhao Qingping felt slightly awkward. Treasured land, why did it sound like a tomb? While it could be put here, but coming from Lin Ye's mouth, he felt it was not a good thing. Chu Xiu and the others did not disguise their tracks. He led 200 people up Ba Mountain and headed straight for the Ba Mountain Sword Sect at the peak. The Ba Mountain Sword Sect had detected such a brazen presence long ago. The Ba Mountain Sword Sect disciples guarding the middle of the mountain did not even dare to stop them, and immediately ran to report to the sect leader in terror. When Chu Xiu came to the gates of the Ba Mountain Sword Sect, the two Ba Mountain Sword Sect disciples holding swords did not flee in panic like the people on the mountain, but they both trembled in terror. The Ba Mountain Sword Sect was a major sect among the songs of the Jianghu. Their disciples should not be so cowardly. However, Chu Xiu's bloodlust during this period of time was a little too great. The battle at Red Maple Valley had directly buried the lives of over 1,000 martial artists. Furthermore, they weren't just random people, but the true elites of several dozen factions. Chu Xiu waved his hand, and the people behind him stopped. Chu Xiu said coolly to the two people, "Please report that Lin Yi of the Hidden Demon faction has come to visit Chen Jiankong and sect leader Chen of the Ba Mountain Sword Sect." Seeing Chu Xiu be so polite, the two Ba Mountain Sword Sect martial artists stilled. Before, they had thought that this person who had killed so many recently would be a vicious person who would attack as soon as he came. They had not expected the other to be so polite. After a moment, the two disciples immediately turned around and wanted to report to Chen Jiankong. But before they could take a few steps, Chen Jiankong, who had received the news, arrived. Chu Xiu casually bowed to Chen Jiankong and said, "Sect leader Chen, it is our first time meeting. Nice to meet you." In reality, in terms of age, cultivation, and experience, Chen Jiankong was a senior. Chu Xiu's attitude was slightly disrespectful, very disrespectful. But both Chu Xiu's subordinates and the people of the Ba Mountain Sword Sect felt that Chu Xiu's attitude was normal. With Chu Xiu's strength and what he had done, no one present would treat Chu Xiu as a junior. Chen Jiankong bowed to Chu Xiu and said, "I have long heard of young Master Lin's name. Seeing you today, you are extraordinary." Chu Xiu waved his hand and said, "Sect leader Chen, let's not waste words. You should know why I have come this time." Chen Jiankong heaved a sigh of relief when he saw that Lin Yi didn't come knocking on his door. Instead, he spoke in a calm manner. He had been afraid that Lin Yi was a madman who only knew how to kill without caring about anything. That would be difficult to deal with. But now it seemed that Lin Yi was reasonable. Since that was the case, it would be much easier to negotiate. So Chen Jiankong smiled and said, "I know what you mean, young Master Lin. In truth, the Ba Mountain Sword Sect also feels great regret about what happened 300 years ago. While our standpoints are different, I admire the 5 great sky fiends of the 9 Sky Mountain for daring to fight one against many. Their unwavering spirit is something I admire. The grievances between the Xiang family and the Hidden Demon faction happened 300 years ago. To put it bluntly, it has nothing to do with the current Xiang family. But there is truth in the saying that the karma of the past must be repaid by the present. The Xiang family is willing to give 80% of their wealth to buy their lives. They only hope that the hidden demon faction will let them go this time. While Qin Jiankong had promised to protect the Xiang family, their opponent was the entire hidden demon faction. Even if he was confident he could stop the people in front of him, he was not confident he could stop the other hidden demon experts from taking revenge. So if he could use some external items to get over this matter, that would be the best thing. But Chu Xiu shook his head without hesitation. Impossible. Elder Wei Shuya said that blood must be paid with blood. If the Xiang family does not want anyone to die, they must get over this matter. It is not so simple. However, since sect leader Chen has spoken, I can give you some face. The Xiang family does not need everyone to pay with blood. The ancestor of the Xiang family once killed 23 disciples of the hidden demon faction. The enmity of the past must be repaid tenfold. Now, as long as the Xiang family chooses 230 disciples to commit suicide, I will let the Xiang family go this time. Right, among those who commit suicide, there must be the patriarch of the Xiang family. Feeling Chu Xiu's gaze drift towards him, the patriarch of the Xiang family felt a chill and hurriedly hid behind Qin Jiankong. Qin Jiankong frowned. Young Master Lin, you are making things difficult. What is the difference between doing this and destroying the Xiang family? If 80% of their wealth is not enough, then the Xiang family is willing to hand over all their wealth. The Ba Mountain Sword sect is also willing to mediate and give young Master Lin a few sword formations as compensation. Is this possible? For a small family like the Xiang family, although they had a lot of people, they only had a little more than 100 direct descendants. If all of them committed suicide, the entire Xiang family wouldn't be enough to kill. What was the difference between this and exterminating the entire family? Chu Xiu stretched out a finger, shook his head, and said, Sect leader Qin, you seem to be mistaken about something. I'm not discussing with you, nor am I bargaining with you. I have no grievances with your Ba Mountain Sword sect. You came out, and I gave you face. I did not let the Xiang family die too badly, and not let the entire Xiang family die. This is my explanation to you. I gave you face. Now, I have given you face, but you do not accept it. Then do not blame me for speaking harshly. Today, the Xiang family must die, must be destroyed. There is no room for discussion. The Ba Mountain Sword sect had better not participate in this matter. Otherwise, you will also die miserably. As soon as these words were spoken, Qin Jinkong's countenance instantly turned crimson red, and it was an expression of explosive rage. The other Ba Mountain Sword sect warriors also showed a hint of anger. Previously, they had felt that this Lin Yi was not arrogant, and would at least be reasonable. Only now did they realize that this fellow was talking about *T reason. He was simply too arrogant. Qin Jiankong shouted angrily, Lin Yi. Do not go too far. You killed enough people in the Battle of Red Maple Valley. Now, you want to kill everyone in the Ba Mountain Sword sect? The Ba Mountain Sword sect is not a place you can do as you please. Chapter 609. As one of the 7 sects and 8 schools, while the Ba Mountain Sword sect was weak, it still had some confidence. Previously, Qin Jiankong had been very polite to Chu Xiu because it meant that he did not want to fight over insignificant matters. But now, Lin Yi did not give him any face at all, so Qin Jiankong did not need to be polite to him. Chu Xiu looked seriously at Qin Jiankong and said coolly, Sect leader Qin, have you really thought it through? The Xiang family is the Xiang family, and the Ba Mountain Sword sect is the Ba Mountain Sword sect. Are you really willing to sacrifice the entire Ba Mountain Sword sect for the Xiang family? Qin Jiankong snorted coldly. You, Lin Yi, cannot threaten the Ba Mountain Sword sect. Chu Xiu shook his head and said, stubborn. If I had known this, I would not have wasted my breath. As soon as he finished speaking, Chu Xiu took a step forward and bellowed, kill. As Chu Xiu spoke, Zhao Qingpeng and Luo Sansong charged forward with their people. Right now, the direct descendants of the Xiang family were all in the Ba Mountain Sword sect. Their first target was the Xiang family. As to whether they would accidentally injure the people of the Ba Mountain Sword sect, that would depend on if the Ba Mountain Sword sect was sensible. Qin Jiankong snorted coldly. But he was prepared and did not fear that Lin Yi would suddenly attack. As Qin Jiankong waved his hand, multiple elders of the Ba Mountain Sword sect formed sword seals and channeled physical energy under their feet. In a flash, a wave of purple light rippled in front of the gates of the Ba Mountain Sword sect. In the end, the light turned into lightning swords. Countless lightning swords lay in front of the gates and exploded with a shocking presence. This was the purple cloud lightning sword formation of the Ba Mountain Sword sect. It had been created by the Thunder Masters of the Celestial Master Mansion and the Sword Masters of the Ba Mountain Sword sect. Maybe the ancestor of Ba Mountain Sword sect knew that Ba Mountain Sword sect was weak, and that in the future, Ba Mountain Sword sect would always be this weak. So when he set up this sword formation, he purposefully made this powerful sword formation into a defensive mode. While its offensive power was slightly weaker, it was stable. At least, it would not be so easy for warriors like Luo Sansong and Zhao Qingping to quickly destroy it. Qin Jiankong attacked first. His long and narrow arms held two long swords at the same time. He used the purple lightning azure light sword and the divine lightning sword of the Ba Mountain Sword sect's 8-character sword method. One sword was extremely fast, and the other, with the divine lightning power that could subdue evil and demons, slashed towards Chu Xiu with a boom. At the instant of contact, the devilish qi around Chu Xiu's body erupted with a bang, and it transformed into a boundless fist that drew along killing intent and baleful qi as it smashed down with a bang. A myriad of techniques were destroyed with a single punch, and its might was so formidable that even Qin Jiankong was surprised, and it was even to the extent that he had a familiar feeling about it. The 8-armed ape, Qin Jiankong, was not famous in the Jianghu, but he was not unknown either. But when the Jianghu people mentioned Qin Jiankong, they would only say that he was the sect leader of the Ba Mountain Sword sect, and nothing else. So most of the Jianghu people did not have much of an impression of Qin Jiankong. He was just the sect leader of the Ba Mountain Sword sect. In reality, since Qin Jiankong could become the sect leader of the Ba Mountain Sword sect and a grandmaster of the sword, this proved that he had some power. Chu Xiu's punch was powerful and domineering. Not to mention his own power, the fist essence was slightly similar to Qin Qingdi's. Qin Jiankong would not leave the Ba Mountain Sword sect most of the time, but he was a reputable person in the West Chu. He had seen and interacted with the experts of the West Chu. He had a very deep impression of Qin Qingdi. At this time, from Lin Ye's punch, he could see a domineering fist essence similar to Qin Qingdi's. This shocked Qin Jiankong slightly. But this Lin Yi was not Qin Qingdi. With the same punch, Qin Qingdi could only make Qin Jiankong submit. But this Lin Yi was not qualified. The divine firmament lightning sword drew the power of thunder. Amidst the lightning, it slashed towards Chu Xiu's murderous and fiendish punch. The divine firmament lightning sword of the Ba Mountain Sword sect borrowed much of the thunder from the celestial master abode. This was a technique created when the ancestor of the Ba Mountain Sword sect and the celestial master abode had been on good terms. The two sides had tested each other and created this technique. The power of the divine firmament lightning sword could suppress evil and kill demons. It had a certain restraining effect on Chu Xiu's own demonic energy. Under the roar of thunder, it shattered the demonic energy of Chu Xiu's punch. The other sword was like a lightning snake. The sword energy curved and slashed towards Chu Xiu at an unbelievable angle. Chu Xiu's punch was still there, but if he did not choose to stop, Qin Jiankong's sword could seriously injure Chu Xiu. Raising an eyebrow, Chu Xiu's body moved slightly and perfectly dodged the azure sword energy. No matter how the sword energy changed directions, it could not even touch Chu Xiu's skin. In front of Chu Xiu, things like speed were a joke. No matter how fast, could it be faster than karma? The Ba Mountain Sword sect was famed for their fast sword, but unfortunately, Chu Xiu's heaven sun gazing at air was the bane of the Ba Mountain Sword sect. Ba Mountain Sword Sect's martial arts, unless they could cultivate to the peak of their ancestors' level and comprehend the sword path of time or karma, there were too many flaws. Qin Jiankong shouted furiously. His two swords combined into one, and then a vast and boundless sword aura descended. The Silken Mountain River Sword of the 8-word sword technique was executed, and it collided head-on with Chu Xiu's fist. The sword energy and wind fell, and Qin Jiankong felt a blast of air coming at him. He could not help but retreat, his hand trembling, and a hint of shock in his eyes. How strong was this Lin Yi? Chu Xiu stepped forward and still threw a punch. It was a complete suppression of power, without any technique. Chu Xiu's martial arts were too diverse. In most people, while it was not as rewarding to specialize in one path, when facing different warriors, Chu Xiu's martial arts allowed him to deal with all kinds of enemies and attack their weaknesses. Qin Jiankong was like this. In reality, his martial arts did not have two obvious weaknesses. The Ba Mountain Sword Sect's 8-character sword art was based on speed, but it also had both offense and defense. Qin Jiankong had mastered all the 8-character sword arts. In reality, he was a warrior with no obvious weaknesses. However, when facing Chu Xiu, he only had one weakness, and that was that he wasn't strong enough. Yes, although Qin Jiankong was a martial arts grandmaster, his foundation of power was not as strong as Chu Xiu. When they fought, Chu Xiu's explosive power was so strong that he could not withstand it, and he was the one being suppressed every time. Chu Xiu's fighting style was aimed at Qin Jiankong. The opponent's fast sword was useless against him, and Chu Xiu could easily dodge it with the heaven's sun gazing at air. Qin Jiankong's strength was not as good as his, so he could completely suppress him with power. He did not even need to use the 7 demon swords, which hurt both sides. As a result, everyone could only watch Qin Jiankong being punched back by Chu Xiu, with no room to resist. The disciples of the Ba Mountain Sword Sect looked worried. Even the sect leader could not defeat the demon Lin Yi. Qin Jiankong's face was slightly red, but this time, it was not because of anger, but because of shame. After all, he was a martial arts grandmaster who had been famous for a long time, but now he was being suppressed by a junior. Even though this person was ranked 3rd on the Longhu roll, he still felt ashamed. What an older martial arts grandmaster like him did not want to fight with a junior like Zhong Xian and Lin Yi, who had surpassed the unity of heaven and man state but had not yet reached the martial arts grandmaster state. If he won, it would be embarrassing. But if he lost, it would be embarrassing. But at this moment, Luo Sansong and the others shouted, "Milord! The formation is a bit troublesome, we can't break it." Luo Sansong and the others were not weak, and there were more than 20 martial artists at the unity of heaven and man state present. But the mountain protecting formation of the Ba Mountain Sword Sect, the Purple Sky Lightning Sword formation, was extremely powerful. Those below the martial arts grandmaster level could not break it. Luo Sansong and the others tried to break the formation by force, and some weaker martial artists were slightly injured. This generation of the Ba Mountain Sword Sect was weak, but they still had a foundation. This mountain protecting formation had been left behind when the Ba Mountain Sword Sect was at its peak. It would be strange if Luo Sansong and the others could easily break it. Qin Jiankong snorted coldly at Chu Xiu. "Lin Yi, I gave you face just now, but you did not want it. Do you know how difficult it is now? Do you really think the Ba Mountain Sword Sect is so easy to deal with?" Chu Xiu glanced at the formation before he glanced at Qin Jiankong, and then he suddenly said, "Sect Master Qin, have you noticed that you've actually done something stupid?" Qin Jiankong frowned and said, "What do you mean?" Chu Xiu narrowed his eyes and said, "I mean, the Ba Mountain Sword Sect's mountain protecting formation is strong, but you are very weak." As he finished speaking, Chu Xiu's hand was on the obsession blade of the 7 demon blades. In the mortal world, no one could avoid greed, anger, obsession, hate, love, evil, and desire. The power of the 7 demon blades was not divided by strength. It only targeted the 7 emotions of a person. According to the former forging master of the Black Demon Tower, as long as one was human, they could not avoid these emotions. So if one blade did not have any effect, then when all 7 blades were used, it would cause a backlash from the other's emotions. But right now, Chu Xiu did not have the power to use 7 blades in a row. So when he used the 7 demon blades, he had to have a certain understanding of his target. Otherwise, this blade would not be effective, but at least less powerful than Chu Xiu imagined. The obsession blade was unsheathed. The demonic energy was not vast, but it was like a thread. It ignored all energy defenses and wrapped around Qin Jinkong's body, causing his mind to go blank. Although the 7 demon blades did not differ in strength, each of them had different uses and effects. The obsession blade did not have the power of the hatred blade that could make people go crazy, nor did it have the evil of the greed blade that could devour all power. But it could make people fall into their own world, unable to free themselves. Chapter 610. The Buddha said that all troubles were caused by stupidity. Of course, this stupidity was not the stupidity of an idiot. The stupidity of an idiot meant that they could not see themselves clearly, could not see the world clearly. With delusion in their hearts, they would trap themselves in their own world. In Chu Xiu's view, Qin Jiankong fit the description of stupidity. Ba Mountain Sword sect was not weak, but compared to the truly large sects of the world, compared to his peak, Ba Mountain Sword sects, not weak, did not seem confident enough. Qin Jinkong's stupidity was that he did not realize that Ba Mountain Sword sect was so weak, and still thought according to the thoughts of when Ba Mountain Sword sect was strong. Simply put, this Qin Jiankong was a person who did not know his limits. What kind of person knew their limits? Very simple, people like Lu Gongyuan of Azure Wave Sword sect truly knew their limits. The Azure Wave Sword sect had declined to a certain level. So for Lu Gongyuan, as long as he could preserve any bit of the Azure Wave Sword sect's power, he could put down his face, reputation, and everything else. So when Shenbai was crippled by Chu Xiu, Lu Gongyuan did not express anything. His first disciple, Do Guangchen, had been killed by Chu Xiu, and a portion of his disciples had died at Chu Xiu's hands, but he did not even fart. While some people said that the Azure Wave Sword sect was too cowardly and did not have the presence of a large sect, Lu Gongyuan knew that without power, everything was empty talk. Qin Jiankong was different. He did not realize that Ba Mountain Sword sect's power was actually at the bottom of the large sects in the world of songs. He was still considering the so-called reputation of a large sect and other things that he did not need. The main culprit for Ba Mountain Sword sect being involved in this matter was this Qin Jiankong, sect leader Qin. The demon chi on the crazy blade wrapped around Qin Jiankong like a cicada pupa. The devilish chi shackled Qin Jiankong and even covered his eyes. Qin Jiankong only seemed to have recovered from his shock when the saber arrived before him, and he suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood while the sword chi around his body shot into the sky as he struggled free from the shackles of the devilish chi. The sword in his hand and the sword formed from energy simultaneously executed the Violet Lightning Sword technique, Divine Firmament Lightning Sword technique, Silken Mountain River Sword technique, and so on and so forth. At the same time, he used the 8-character sword of the Ba Mountain Sword sect. This was the move that had made Qin Jiankong famous. However, these 8 sword strikes were a little too hasty. Before they could fully display their sword power, they had already been defeated one by Chu Xiu's crazy blade. Qin Jiankong's hands that held the swords were still trembling. In the end, he couldn't endure it any longer, and his swords broke. He spat out a mouthful of blood and flew backward. Chu Xiu withdrew his crazy blade and suppressed its backlash. At the same time, he condensed his spirit into an arrow and executed the soul-extinguishing arrow of the major 9 forms of soul assimilation. Furthermore, he shot 3 arrows at the same time. Actually, the might of these 3 arrows wasn't as strong as the might of Chu Xiu's soul obliteration arrow that he'd executed with his full strength, but Chu Xiu didn't intend to kill Qin Jiankong with this move. Targeted by the 3 arrows, Qin Jiankong, whose weapon had shattered, could only choose to flee. While he could still fight by turning energy into swords, after experiencing that strike just now, Qin Jiankong's courage seemed to have been completely destroyed. He did not dare to fight head-on against Chu Xiu. However, when he turned around and was about to escape, he found that the soul-destroying arrow had blocked him from 3 directions, and the only chance of survival was in the direction of the mountain-protecting formation. A powerful purple firmament lightning sword chi also erupted from it, repelling Luo Sansong and the others. A formation was not a person and would not recognize a master. Now that he was forced into the formation, he could either choose to fight against Chu Xiu on the outside, or step into the range of the formation and endure the attacks of the formation together. Chen Jinkong's blood surged and turned into 3 blood-colored sword energies to block the soul-destroying arrow. But he was also forced into the formation and endured the baptism of the purple sky lightning sword energy. Chu Xiu stepped forward, and the demonic aura around him soared into the sky. As he formed a seal with his hand, the monstrous demonic aura condensed into an evil black Buddha behind him. The Buddha held a blood-red saber and slashed down. The demonic aura surged, and at the same time, it affected Chen Jinkong's vital energy and blood. Using the 8-character sword techniques, Chen Jinkong struggled to resist Chu Xiu's demon Buddha of slaughter. But almost immediately, he was forced into a disadvantageous position. The situation was extremely dangerous. Inside the Ba Mountain Sword sect, Tichertsen's expression suddenly changed when he saw this scene. He hurriedly said, "Open the formation. Let the sect leader in." The surrounding elders of the Ba Mountain Sword sect were slightly hesitant. It was not that they wanted to kill Chen Jiankong, but if the formation was opened, how could they stop Luo Sansong's powerful demonic slayers? Chu Xiu's subordinates weren't the only one with formidable strength. Tichertsen said frantically, "Idiot. If we do not open the formation and the sect leader dies outside, the Ba Mountain Sword sect will be finished. Who among you can defeat a martial grandmaster? Who has the confidence to support the Ba Mountain Sword sect?" Right now, the Ba Mountain Sword sect was actually very weak. There was no successor in the next generation, and they could not even find a worthy young disciple. But if the young disciples were gone, they could be slowly discovered and nurtured. But if Chen Jiankong, a martial grandmaster, died, and the Ba Mountain Sword sect did not have a martial grandmaster, it would not take long for them to be kicked out of the 7 sects and 8 schools. Tichertsen said hatefully, "I told you long ago, you cannot protect the Xiang family, you cannot protect the Xiang family. Look at this. You are inviting trouble to yourself." Even Peng Chong did not speak. While he had a good relationship with the Xiang family, and the leader of the Xiang family was his sworn brother, he was an elder of the Ba Mountain Sword sect. If something happened to the Ba Mountain Sword sect, it would be an unimaginable loss for him. The elders of the Ba Mountain Sword sect looked at each other, and could only open the formation. Chen Jiankong, who had been suppressed by Chu Xiu, quickly retreated to the back. But at the same time, because of the opening of the formation, Luo Sansong and the others charged into the Ba Mountain Sword sect crowd. Previously, Luo Sansong and the others had thought that this would be another hard battle, and that the Ba Mountain Sword sect would stop them. Unexpectedly, the Ba Mountain Sword sect retreated of their own accord, and gave way to the Xiang family hiding behind them. In the face of great danger, everyone fled. Husband and wife were like this, much less between the Ba Mountain Sword sect and the Xiang family. The patriarch of the Xiang family still had some backbone. Seeing that he and the others had fallen into a desperate situation, he did not choose to retreat. Instead, he erupted all of his qi, blood, and qi, desperately trying to drag a few people down with him. But the leader of the Xiang family was a bit weak, and was cut in 2 by Luo Sansong with a few blows. Even the Xiang family was slaughtered. At this time, Chen Jiankong and the other Ba Mountain Sword sect warriors all had humiliated expressions. To be slaughtered on their own land by others, and by their in-laws and allies at that, was an insult. But at this time, Chen Jiankong did not dare to say anything more. The other Ba Mountain Sword sect warriors were also silent. They had seen Lin Ye's strength. In a dozen moves, he had defeated their sect leader, Chen Jiankong. The other hidden demon warriors were strong enough. If they really fought, and the Ba Mountain Sword sect did not have a formation to protect them, they might be destroyed. Chu Xiu narrowed his eyes at Chen Jiankong, his gaze filled with malice. Should Chen Jiankong kill? Or should he not? Should he destroy the Ba Mountain Sword sect? Or should he not destroy it? This was a problem. Today, he had seriously injured Qin Jiankong, and had slaughtered in the Ba Mountain Sword sect. This meant that he had formed a feud with the Ba Mountain Sword sect. So it should not be a problem to finish them all off at once. What he feared was that the Ba Mountain Sword sect still had some hidden trump cards. After all, a large sect like the Ba Mountain Sword sect definitely had some hidden treasures. Qin Jiankong seemed to feel Chu Xiu's malicious gaze. He could not help but tremble. At this time, a shout came from the foot of the mountain. Demon! Stop! Boundless Buddhist Gang Chi erupted and a figure wrapped in golden Gang Chi climbed to the top of Ba Mountain. Su Xing's face darkened when he saw that most of the Xiang family members had been slaughtered. He had come a step too late again. In reality, if Su Xing had hurried on his own, he could have caught up to Chu Xiu and come to the Ba Mountain Sword sect ahead of time. But he had brought a few burdens with him. He had hurried with those people, so he had been slowed down. At the foot of the mountain, Su Xing heard other passing warriors say that a large group of demonic cultivators had already ascended the mountain. Su Xing knew this was not good. He had hurried, but in the end, he was still a step too late. By the time he reached the top of the mountain, everyone had been killed. Chu Xiu glanced at the shadow and casually greeted him, "Master Xuxing, I trust you have been well since we last met." As he spoke, Chu Xiu stood with his hands behind his back and put on an indifferent posture. However, even though Chu Xiu looked very calm on the surface, he was actually a little panicked. The fact that Su Xing would appear here was something that he had not expected. Because according to normal logic, Chu Xiu had already killed everyone in Red Maple Valley. Who would be bored enough to come find him for revenge? So from the start, Chu Xiu had planned to retreat after killing everyone. But this time, the Great Light Temple had sent Su Xing, who had an old grudge against him. There was clearly no point, but he still followed him to the Ba Mountain Sword sect. If he had been at his peak, Chu Xiu would not have feared Su Xing. He had been able to injure Su Xing once, so he was confident he could injure Su Xing a second time. But that time, Chu Xiu had the 7-demon blade. It could be said that the 7-demon blade was very useful to Chu Xiu as a trump card. But just now, when Chu Xiu had fought Qin Jiankong, he had used the 7-demon blade. If he used the 7-demon blade again, Chu Xiu would not be able to suppress the backlash of the 7-demon blade. If he'd known earlier, Chu Xiu wouldn't have used a lethal weapon like the 7-fiend saber. In any case, Qin Jiankong's strength was extremely weak, and Chu Xiu would still be able to deal with him by expending some effort. Chapter 6:11. Su Xing looked at the corpses on the ground and said angrily, "Lin Yi. Thousands of lives were lost outside Red Maple Valley, and now you still dare to kill like this. Are you not afraid of karma? In Jianghu, even those old devils who have cultivated to the Grandmaster realm would not dare to go as far as you did." Su Xing was indeed very angry. He came to kill Chu Xiu with a selfish motive. He wanted to take revenge for what happened in Xiafanshan. However, Su Xing was from the Buddhist sect after all. Although he was hot-tempered and easily angered, seeing so many people die at the hands of Lin Yi, Su Xing was also extremely angry. In recent years, there were very few demons as arrogant as Lin Yi in the demonic path. The demonic path was on the decline, so even those who had been famous for a long time did not dare to go too far. And for people like Mr. Liu who came from the phaseless demon sect, even if they stirred up some trouble in the Jianghu, the damage they caused was limited. Most of them had a purpose, unlike Chu Xiu, who came to kill people. Thus, Chu Xiu killing over 1,000 people in a single battle in Red Maple Valley was indeed shocking enough. At the very least, it was more shocking than exterminating sects one by one, although the latter might actually result in more deaths. Chu Xiu said lightly, "Karma? I kill people for karma. Their ancestors owed karma, and now I am here to collect it. It is only right and proper. Moreover, Master Su Xing, your mercy seems to be used in the wrong place. I only killed thousands of people, and you are already so angry. Do you know how many warriors die in the Jianghu every year? The number is thousands of times more than the number of people I have killed. Instead of solving the Jianghu's grudges, you came to me. What a joke. The Buddhist sect talks about karma, and your Great Light Temple also has a karma Zen hall. Master Su Xing, do you not know the importance of karma? Today, I destroyed the Xiang clan, and the grudge from 300 years ago in 9 heavens will be settled. The Hidden Devil clan will not attack again. On the contrary, if you insist on going against the Hidden Devil clan today, it will intensify the conflict between the two sides, and even set off a war between the Daoists and the demons. At that time, there will be countless casualties. He was a sinner of the righteous path of martial artists. Because the karma of those who died in the war between the righteous and demonic path will be on you, Master Su Xing. Below, Luo Sansong looked at Chu Xiu with a dumbfounded expression. Actually, he really admired Lord Lin Yi. He only admired those who were stronger than him. Moreover, Lord Lin Ye's way of doing things was very much to his liking. Regardless of whether it was a setup or something else, it was already very satisfying for him to be able to massacre everyone in the end. However, Luo Sansong discovered that Lord Lin Yi was actually quite good at talking. In any case, he was confused. In Luo Sansong's opinion, given Lord Lin Ye's strength, he could just kill this monk directly. Why waste time arguing with him here? In fact, Su Xing had indeed made Chu Xiu a little confused. Among the 3 major meditation halls and the 6 major martial courtyards of the Great Light Temple, the reason why the martial courtyard was called the martial courtyard was very simple. It was only responsible for martial arts. Therefore, the entry requirements for the disciples of the 6 major martial courtyards were much simpler than those of the 3 major meditation halls. As long as one was familiar with the Buddhist scriptures and precepts, one could enter the 6 major martial courtyards to cultivate. As for the 3 major meditation halls, one had to have a certain level of talent and comprehension to be qualified to enter. Otherwise, no matter how hard one worked, one would not be able to enter. It was obvious that people like Su Xing were not good at using their brains. Using the Buddhist flame to purify and kill these demons was the simplest and most effortless way. Flowery words. Lin Yi, your bewitching methods may work on others, but don't think of using them on me. Previously, I was caught off guard in Xiaofan Heaven and was ambushed by you. This time, I won't make the same mistake twice. As soon as he finished speaking, the Buddhist flame around Su Xing's body rose and he threw a punch at Chu Xiu. The Buddhist light shone for hundreds of meters, looking majestic and magnificent. Chu Xiu sighed helplessly. What he hated the most was to reason with such simple-minded fellows. Even if he tried to reason with them, they would always think that their reasoning was right. There was no way to communicate with them. In fact, what Chu Xiu had said just now was true. If something happened to him here, Wuxia and the others would not stand by and do nothing. This was not because Chu Xiu had confidence in Wuxia, but because of his current status. He was acknowledged by Wuxia as the successor of the Devil Path and the most outstanding disciple of the Yinma clan. If something happened to him here, there was no guarantee that there would not be another war between the Righteous Path and the Devil Path. The scale of this war would not be smaller than the one on Floating Jade Mountain. It was a pity that Su Xing no longer listened to anyone. He did not hold back at all when he punched Chu Xiu. Buddhist flames rose up. Before the flames even got close, they were already suppressing the demonic aura around Chu Xiu. Back in Xiaofan Heaven, Chu Xiu had fought with Su Xing. As the chief of the Dharma Institute, Su Xing's strength was not something an ordinary martial arts master like Qin Jiankong could compare with. At that time, Chu Xiu could only choose to temporarily retreat when facing Su Xing. In the end, he relied on the 7 demon swords to successfully injure Su Xing. At this time, although Chu Xiu was stronger than he was in Xiaofan Heaven, he was not strong enough to turn the world upside down. In addition, he had used the 7 demon swords once before. Chu Xiu's first choice was not to fight Su Xing head-on, but to turn around and temporarily retreat. The heaven's sun gazing at air skill was used to the extreme by Chu Xiu. In the boundless Buddhist light, Chu Xiu's figure floated and danced. Although it seemed very dangerous, he was always able to dodge Su Xing's attack just in time. Su Xing frowned, and a thunderous sound burst out from his mouth. Zhen, Ming, Pai, Lei, 4 of the 9 changes lion roar were used at the same time. With a loud bang, the shock made Chu Xiu dizzy, and his body could not help but slow down. The heaven's sun gazing at air skill could see that Su Xing was using the 9 changes lion roar, but he did not have a good way to defend himself. Although Chu Xiu had practiced many primordial spirit secret skills, almost all of them were used to attack. There were almost no defensive skills. Su Xing's hand formed a swastika Buddhist seal. When the seal fell, there was a faint sonic boom in the surrounding void, and the pressure was astonishing. Chu Xiu frowned, and demonic energy gathered in front of him. The demon Buddha of slaughter was displayed, and the qi and blood of the Xiang family warriors on the ground were all absorbed into the blood blade in the demon Buddha of slaughter's hand, and it slashed towards Su Xing. After breaking his swastika Buddhist seal, Chu Xiu's figure also quickly retreated. Evil skill. Su Xing snorted coldly. He flicked his wide monk robe, and the Buddhist light suddenly burst out, directly smashing the blood blade. Below, Luo Sansong touched his head and said, "Why do I feel that Sir's strength seems to have weakened?" Zhao Qingping said in a low voice, "It is not that Sir has become weaker, but that Sir is deliberately hiding his strength. He did not use his full strength, and all his strength is not in attacking, but in dodging. Sir's martial arts are strong in that his explosive power is extremely strong, so dodging is not able to bring out Sir's full strength. Is this old monk's strength really so terrifying that Sir has to deliberately show weakness?" In the eyes of outsiders, Chu Xiu was showing weakness, fighting like a coward against Su Xing. If he could dodge, he would dodge; if he could dodge, if he could block, he would block. He did not even counterattack. Even after Chen Jiankong saw this, he had a depressed expression. When Lin Yi had attacked him just now, he had been so fierce, throwing all kinds of powerful martial arts techniques at him as if they were free, suppressing him. But now it was Su Xing, and Lin Yi was so cowardly that he did not even fight back. Meanwhile, Elder Peng Chong, who stood by Chen Jiankong's side, sent a voice transmission to Chen Jiankong in a low voice. "Sect Master, seize this opportunity to launch a sneak attack on Lin Yi. If you cooperate with Master Shuxing, we're very likely to be able to kill Lin Yi." Chen Jiankong hesitated. It wasn't because of his face or anything like that. After all, he had already lost enough face today. It was because Luo Sansong, Zhao Qingping, and the others were still watching the people of the Ba Mountain Sword sect. Although he was a martial arts grandmaster, Luo Sansong and the others were not weak. If one could not beat him, then 10 of them would come, and they would be able to hold him back. And for some reason, Chen Jiankong felt that something was wrong. Lin Ye's strength should not be so weak. At this time, there was some change in the battle between Chu Xiu and Su Xing. Zhao Qingping, Chen Jiankong, and the others had not misjudged. Chu Xiu was showing weakness. Although Chu Xiu had successfully suppressed the backlash of using the 7 demon sabers, he could not make up for the consumption of his mental strength and vital energy for the time being. Chu Xiu was not a martial arts grandmaster who could continuously absorb the power of heaven and earth and turn it into his own strength. He could only choose to use the simplest method, which was to stall for time until his strength recovered a little. Even now, Chu Xiu's mental strength had not recovered to its peak, but as long as he was given a chance to attack, it would be enough. At this time, Su Xing was clearly thinking the same. He was very annoyed by Chu Xiu's evasive fighting style and did not want to waste any more time. In an instant, the shadow of a Buddha appeared in the Buddhist flames around Su Xing. As Su Xing formed a seal with his hand, boundless light bloomed and gathered into a strange Sanskrit character. The powerful Buddhist flames covered an area of 100 feet above Chu Xiu's head and suppressed him. This was not a martial arts technique, but a character left behind by the Buddhist holy monk Bodhidharma. Although it looked like Sanskrit, it did not correspond to any of the characters in Sanskrit. But looking at the notes left behind by Bodhidharma and seeing the character he had personally written, everyone had a different understanding. The character that Su Xing had comprehended bloomed with boundless light. It could suppress evil and kill demons, and its power could even be ranked among the top. Seeing the huge ceiling Sanskrit character descend, Chu Xiu finally stopped dodging this time. Instead, he pulled out a knife from behind him, the angry knife. Chapter 6:12. Buddhism called greed, anger, and obsession the three poisons, also known as the three stains. These three things harmed the human heart and caused people to sink into the world of mortals, unable to escape. Therefore, among the 7 emotions and 6 desires, the Buddhists were most afraid of greed, anger, and obsession. They were determined to get rid of them completely. Unfortunately, throughout history, there were not many Buddhist monks who were able to completely cut off these 3 thoughts. If Buddha was not greedy, then why was the golden body towering in the hall of great strength, and why was there no earth, wood, or clay sculptures? If Buddha was not angry, then why was he unable to tolerate even the slightest bit of heresy? Why was he determined to kill everything he thought was wrong? If Buddha was not obsessed, then why was he unable to see through all the obstacles and self-righteous? Throughout history, there were not many Buddhists who were able to completely cut off the 3 thoughts of greed, anger, and obsession. The only person Chu Xiu had ever seen was Master Tam Yuan. Perhaps Su Xing was not greedy for fame, or perhaps he was not obsessed with ideas, but his anger was very strong. In reality, the moment he saw Chu Xiu use the 7-demon blade, Su Xing was already on his guard. Back in Xiaofang Heaven, Chu Xiu had used the 7-demon blade to severely injure him. Su Xing would not make the same mistake a second time. That blade had triggered the greed in Su Xing's heart, and at the same time, it had devoured his vital energy. It was extremely evil. However, after returning to the Temple of Great Light, Su Xing went to the Kongji Zen Hall's first seat, Su Du, and asked him for the adversity crossing Zen scripture that could suppress one's mind. With this technique, he could completely counteract the demon blade's ability to disturb one's mind. The angry blade slashed down, and an unparalleled power bloomed. Monstrous demonic chi swept out, and the power was actually the greatest of the 7 demon blades that Chu Xiu had used. Anger was an obsession, anger, and negative karma. The moment the angry blade slashed down, and the moment Su Xing's anger was triggered, the Buddhist flames around him instantly turned crimson. They were no longer the golden Buddhist flames from before. Su Xing's anger surged, and his eyes instantly turned red. His heart was filled with a crazy obsession. He would sacrifice everything, even the lives of others. He had to kill this evil spirit in front of him. However, in the blink of an eye, Xu Xing felt that something was wrong. He bit the tip of his tongue and spat out a mouthful of blood, suppressing the crazy thoughts in his mind. It was true that Su Ren was irritable and paranoid, and it was also true that he had strong resentment in his heart. However, he was still a martial arts grandmaster from the Great Light Temple, and also someone who had studied Buddhist scriptures for half his life. Even if he did not comprehend any profound Buddhist principles, he would not do something like sacrificing so many innocent lives just to kill one person. Gritting his teeth, Su Xing recited the Crossing Adversity Zen Sutra, trying to suppress the anger in his body. However, as Chu Xiu's angry blade got closer and closer, the anger was not only not suppressed, but also became stronger. Actually, Su Xing's way of dealing with it was not wrong. The Buddhist sect's secret scripture, the Adversity Crossing Zen scripture, was indeed effective against evil weapons like the 7 demon blades, which could incite evil in people's hearts. However, the last time Chu Xiu dealt with Su Xing, he did not have any experience, so he used the greedy blade. This time, he had figured out how to use the 7 demon blades, and he used the angry blade, which targeted Su Xing's heart. Everyone had a demon in their heart, and it was usually suppressed by their heart. Once it was released, it would be out of control. Chu Xiu's blade released the demon in Su Xing's heart. Under the attack of the angry blade, the Crossing Adversity Zen Sutra was completely ineffective. The Buddhist flames around Su Xing, which had turned red, were mixed with a hint of black. As the angry blade slashed down, the black Buddhist flames suddenly surged into the angry blade. It was as if they had the same source of power, and it easily broke through Su Xing's protective genuine qi and sent him flying. As the head of the Dharma Institute, Su Xing's body was strong enough to crush warriors of the same level. But now, under the attack of the angry blade, there was a huge wound on his chest. It was so deep that bones could be seen, and blood was spilling out. Compared to the time when he had been seriously injured by the greedy blade, he was at least 10 times more injured. The special thing about the 7 demon blades was that when you attacked, you not only had to consider your own strength, but also how strong your opponent's 7 emotions and 6 desires were. If you attacked a saint who had no emotions and 6 desires, then the 7 demon blades would not even be as useful as ordinary precious weapons. But right now, Chu Xiu was not in a good state. The 7 demon blades hurt both others and Chu Xiu. At his peak, Chu Xiu was confident that he could suppress the backlash after slashing out once. However, Chu Xiu had slashed out twice in succession. Although there were some gaps between the slashes, his strength was not at its peak. Right now, it was clearly a great opportunity to kill Su Xing, but Chu Xiu did not move. His eyes turned red and he panted heavily. In the end, he used his last thread of willpower to put the angry blade back into its scabbard. Fortunately, Chu Xiu had used the angry blade and not other blades. In reality, Chu Xiu's anger was not very strong. He was a person who could see things clearly. To put it bluntly, Chu Xiu knew his limits and would not be easily swayed by emotions. So right now, Chu Xiu could barely suppress the power of the angry blade. If it had been the greedy blade or the evil blade, Chu Xiu would have been possessed by a mental demon. At this time, Chen Jiankong, who was standing below, discovered that something was wrong with Chu Xiu. He clearly had a good chance to kill Su Xing, but Lin Yi was standing here without moving. There was clearly a problem. If he used this chance to kill Lin Yi and save Su Xing, the Ba Mountain Sword sect would gain fame, and also gain the favor and gratitude of the Great Light Temple. Glancing at Luo Sansong and the others, Chen Jiankong planned if he could have Teacher Qin and the others act to temporarily block these demonic people, and then kill Lin Yi himself. At this time, a voice suddenly sounded by Chen Jiankong's ear. It said coolly, "Monkey Chen, I advise you not to act." Because Chen Jiankong looked like an ape, before he became the leader of the Ba Mountain Sword sect, he had been mocked by many people because of his appearance. Many people jokingly called him a monkey. But after Chen Jiankong became the leader of the Ba Mountain Sword sect and the 8-armed divine ape Chen Jiankong, whose name shook the West Chu, it had been a long time since someone said these words in front of him. But at this time, Chen Jiankong only felt terror, not anger, because he could not be bothered with anger. Someone was actually able to sneak up on him without him noticing. Just how frightening was this person's cultivation? Chen Jiankong turned his head and saw a sloppily dressed Taoist priest next to him. This Taoist priest wore a gray Taoist robe. In fact, this Taoist robe should be the classic moon-white Taoist robe of the Celestial Master Mansion. But because it had not been washed for a long time, all kinds of dust and stains had accumulated on it, so it looked gray. The Daoist priest's appearance wasn't ugly. On the contrary, he was a very handsome middle-aged man. However, his hair and beard were messy. He was also holding a dirty wine gourd in his hand. From time to time, he would take a sip from it. This made him look very sloppy. After seeing the sloppy Taoist priest, Chen Jiankong's expression suddenly changed and became extremely twisted. There was even a hint of fear in his eyes. He shouted, "Xian Longzi. Why is it you?" Xian Longzi put down the wine gourd, stretched out his dirty hand, and patted Chen Jiankong's face. He said with a smile, "Didn't you send someone to the Celestial Master Mansion to ask for help? I just happened to be released, so I came out to see an old friend. How is it? Are you surprised? Are you surprised?" Chen Jiankong's face was stiff, and he did not dare to move. At this time, he was not surprised, but only frightened. Thunder God, Xianlongzi was the most famous martial arts master in the prime of his life in the Celestial Master Mansion. He was even more famous than Zhang Qingzhen's father in the Celestial Master Mansion. Although he was not a Celestial Master yet, he was in charge of the affairs of the Celestial Master Mansion on behalf of the old Celestial Master. Although this person was a disciple of the Celestial Master Mansion, he was not a member of the Zhang family. He was adopted by the old Celestial Master since he was young, so he was not much different from a member of the Zhang family. When Xianlongzi was at his peak, he was even ranked 17th on the excellence list. He was definitely one of the top experts in the Celestial Master Mansion. But the most unacceptable thing about this person was that he was a madman. A complete and utter madman. Xianlongzi was an extreme and arrogant person who did not have any scruples. In the entire Celestial Master Mansion, no one could suppress him except the old Celestial Master. Qin Jiankong and Xianlongzi were of the same generation, and he had been humiliated by him many times. It could even be said that he had left a psychological shadow on Xianlongzi. Of course, these were all small matters. Xianlongzi had caused a huge disaster 10 years ago. 10 years ago, when someone opened the ancient ruins, the true spirit of an ancient demon expert was accidentally released. Even if it was an ancient expert, after tens of thousands of years, even if they used some methods to ensure that the true spirit was immortal, they would still be extremely weak. Even an expert like LV Wenho was the same, let alone others. But at that time, there was a guy who took the initiative to seek death. After obtaining the true spirit, he did not kill it. Instead, he wanted to sacrifice the true spirit and obtain the memories within it. In the end, he merged with the true spirit, and his memories became chaotic. He completely became a powerful madman and caused great damage to Jianghu. At that time, Celestial Master Mansion and other righteous sects joined forces to kill this thing. Among them, the person sent by Celestial Master Mansion was Xianlongzi. Originally, it was very difficult to get rid of such an existence that had the true spirit of an ancient expert and could continuously devour human lives to recover its strength. But Xianlongzi boldly laid out a plan. He used the lives of his fellow martial artists as bait and quickly killed the true spirit of the ancient expert. At the same time, he also killed several righteous grandmasters. Although Xianlongzi's action was to save more people, it also caused Celestial Master Mansion to offend several large sections. It forced Celestial Master Mansion to personally go to Wine Sweeping Pavilion and have Xianlongzi's name removed from the Wind Cloud list. Finally, Xianlongzi was imprisoned in Celestial Master Mansion's dungeon to reflect for 10 years. Moreover, the old Celestial Master personally went to all the large sects to apologize. 10 years was enough for people to forget many things. If Xianlongzi had not appeared, Qin Jiankong would have almost forgotten about him. It was only when Xianlongzi appeared in front of him that Qin Jiankong remembered that these days were the days when Xianlongzi's sentence was completed. He finally remembered the fear that Xianlongzi had brought to him in the past. Chapter 613. Qin Jiankong's emotions were very complicated. He had asked for help from the Celestial Master Abode. He had hoped that the Celestial Master Abode would send an expert. As a result, the Celestial Master Abode had indeed sent an expert. However, he had not expected that this expert would be the lunatic Xianlongzi. In Qin Jiankong's view, Xianlongzi was a standard madman, even more terrifying than the people of the demonic path. He might be smiling now, but he might push you out to die in the next moment. He did not consider the consequences at all. Just now, Xianlongzi had called him Monkey Chen and slapped him in the face in front of the many disciples of the Ba Mountain Sword sect. This was a slightly insulting action, but Qin Jiankong did not even dare to say a word. Seeing Qin Jiankong not speak, Xianlongzi still had a smile on his face. "What is it, Monkey Chen? I haven't seen you for 10 years. You don't even welcome me when an old friend is released? Don't tell me you still hold a grudge against me for breaking your good-for-nothing son's leg and making you vomit blood at the same time because he took liberties with a woman? You're already a sect leader, you can't be so stingy. Right, your son is so arrogant, he's even more arrogant than my little Qingjin. He will be beaten sooner or later when he comes out to roam the world. It's been so many years, is he dead? Qin Jiankong's face turned red. Was there anyone who asked if someone's son was dead the moment they met? But Qin Jiankong did not dare to fall out with Xian Longzi. He forced a smile and said, "Thank you, brother Xian Longzi, for teaching that unfilial son a lesson and beating me awake. He is already married and has toned down his temper." Xian Longzi shook his head in disappointment. "Oh, he's not dead. This guy is married. Such a pity. Should I go kill him?" Qin Jiankong's expression suddenly changed, but then Xian Longzi patted him on the shoulder and laughed. "Ha ha ha, I'm joking with you. Look at how scared you are. You are a sect leader, how can you be so useless? You don't have the willpower to remain calm even if Mount Tai collapses in front of you." Qin Jiankong almost vomited blood. He wanted to fall out with Xian Longzi right now. Was there such a joke? But at this moment, Xian Longzi stopped smiling and pointed at Chu Xiu with a serious expression. "You want to kill this demonic brat?" Qin Jiankong was stunned for a moment, then he nodded and said, "This Lin Yi is an outstanding figure cultivated by the Yima clan. Not long after he appeared in Jianghu, he was ranked third on the Longhu list. In Xiaofan heaven, Taoist priest Wuxia Xianxia of the pure Yang Taoist sect was killed by him. Not long ago, this person killed dozens of forces and thousands of people in the Battle of Red Maple Valley. Now, because this boy wants to destroy my in-laws, the Xiang family, he is arrogant enough to come to Ba Mountain Sword sect. If we do not kill him, where will the dignity of a righteous sect be?" Xian Longzi looked at Chu Xiu and murmured, "Oh, in the past 10 years when I wasn't here, the Jianghu has been very exciting. Such an interesting young man actually appeared in the hidden devil lineage. TSK, he has courage and courage." Qin Jiankong frowned. Why did he feel that Xian Longzi seemed to admire Lin Yi? Xian Longzi said faintly, "Monkey Qin, you can kill this young man if you want to, but you have to wait until that kid slaughters Shuxing donkey before you can make your move." Qin Jiankong was instantly taken aback. If Lin Yi kills Su Xing, the Temple of Great Light will definitely not let the matter rest. At that time, wouldn't it instigate another great war between the orthodox and demon paths? And he died in my Ba Mountain Sword sect. What if the Great Light Temple blames me for watching and causing Su Xing to die? Xian Longzi sneered and said, "Righteous and demonic war? The hidden devil lineage could be considered as half a devil, so what right did the Great Light Temple have to represent the entire righteous martial arts world? In the 10 years that I was not here, Zhang Daoling, that old brat, did things too steadily. Even the old celestial master did not like to meddle in other people's business. My celestial master residence was a little too steady, causing this bunch of bald donkeys to think that they were the leaders of the righteous path. They were always shouting about killing this and burying that. It was really noisy. Didn't the hidden devil lineage want to show themselves? Perfect, I will give them this chance. Let them fight with the Temple of Great Light and show off their might." Xian Longzi put an arm around Qin Jiankong's shoulder and patted him. "As for you, do not worry. Your Ba Mountain Sword sect is protected by the Celestial Master residence. What are you afraid of?" Qin Jiankong hurriedly said, "But, no buts." Xian Longzi's eyes narrowed. While he still looked sloppy, the sharpness in his eyes caused Qin Jiankong to feel a stab of pain. "Monkey Qin, you are still so confused. Don't forget where your Ba Mountain Sword sect is. The outcome of being a rat is very tragic. Unless you move your sect to the north, as long as your Ba Mountain Sword sect is in West Chu, you have to remember clearly. Don't forget who is in charge of the righteous martial world of West Chu." Qin Jiankong was so frightened he did not dare to say a word. But inside, he was cursing Xian Longzi, this madman. Some people pretended to be crazy, but Xian Longzi was truly crazy. He had only been released after being imprisoned for 10 years, and he dared to do such a crazy thing. Xian Longzi's actions were even more ruthless and extreme than the demonic martial artists. He only had the Celestial Master residence in his heart. For him, as long as it was beneficial to the celestial master residence, he would do it. Of course, the consequences were not something he would care about. At this time, Chen Jiankong was filled with regret. He regretted protecting the Xiang family. If he had not agreed to protect the Xiang family, then he would not have been involved in the matters of the hidden devil lineage, and would not have been involved in the open and hidden struggles between the celestial master residence and the Temple of Great Light. At this time, Chu Xiu had managed to suppress the backlash of the 7 demon blades. He also noticed Xian Longzi's existence. Xian Longzi did not reveal any aura, but since he was wearing a Daoist robe, even an idiot could guess that he was someone from the celestial master residence. This made Chu Xiu's heart tighten. The Temple of Great Light and the celestial master residence were practically the 2 strongest sects of the Buddhist and Taoist lineages. He could deal with Su Xing, but now there was another unfathomable guy. It seemed like he should consider retreating. At this time, Xian Longzi saw that Chu Xiu did not continue to attack. He said lazily, "I say, kid, what are you waiting for if you don't attack? Hurry up and kill that bald donkey." Chu Xiu squinted his eyes and said, "Oh? If I kill Su Xing, then you kill me, so that you can earn a favor from the Temple of Great Light?" Xian Longzi said disdainfully, "I don't want to earn a favor from that bunch of bald donkeys. If Chen Hozi wants to earn a favor, then let him." Chu Xiu said indifferently, "If I kill Su Xing, I will also die. If that's the case, then why should I kill him?" Xian Longzi said indifferently, "It's very simple. If you don't kill him, then I will kill you personally. Kid, if it's me, you will definitely die, and your death will be very ugly." Chu Xiu was silent for a while, then suddenly said, "The celestial master residence wants to use me to incite conflict between the hidden devil lineage and the Temple of Great Light?" Xian Longzi said indifferently, "You can tell? Anyway, this bald donkey also wants to kill you. If you kill him now, you can find someone else to be your scapegoat. Isn't that good?" The gang chi around Chu Xiu gathered secretly, and he said indifferently, "But I don't like being used by others." Xian Longzi stared at Chu Xiu for a while, then suddenly revealed a smile, "Kid, not bad. You have character. I admire you, but I also don't like disobedient fellows." As soon as he finished speaking, Xian Longzi took a step forward. His figure was like a bolt of lightning, and in almost an instant, he had already arrived in front of Chu Xiu. For the first time, Chu Xiu's heaven's sun gazing at air could not even catch his opponent's trace. This was almost at the limit of speed. Behind him, Chen Jiankong was also dumbfounded. Xian Longzi had gone crazy again. Previously, he had said that he wanted to use Chu Xiu to incite conflict between the hidden devil lineage and the Temple of Great Light, but in the blink of an eye, he had personally killed someone. Was he preparing to incite conflict between the hidden devil lineage and the celestial master residence? Was this fellow thinking for the celestial master residence, or was he trying to scam the celestial master residence? Xian Longzi used his fingers as a sword, and as his seemingly casual finger fell, countless lightning gathered in an instant. The greenish-purple lightning actually turned into liquid, and the lightning water condensed into a sword, slashing towards Chu Xiu's sword. In an instant, the power of lightning covered the heavens and the earth. Within a radius of several hundred feet, dark clouds gathered, and torrential rain poured. Chu Xiu's eyes immediately revealed a look of astonishment. Xian Longzi's strength was so strong that it was abnormal. The power of one move had already caused such a large-scale change in the heavens and earth. Other than the true fire spirit refinement realm powerhouses that Chu Xiu had seen this kind of power, he had only seen it in the hands of martial Dao masters at the level of Chenqing Di. Was the strength of the celestial master residence really so terrifying that a random martial Dao master could have such strength? As the lightning water condensed into a sword, the pressure that felt like he was facing a lightning storm made Chu Xiu feel a great pressure. He could no longer use the 7 demon blades. Chu Xiu still had the hungry ghost Dao incarnation in his body, but that thing hurt others and himself even more. At this moment, Chu Xiu no longer had time to think so much. All the power in his body gathered on a single point, and as Chu Xiu gently pointed out with his finger, a black light bloomed in the center of Chu Xiu's finger. The black light was only a dot, but it gradually grew larger. It was an extreme sense of death that melted and destroyed everything, from the corporeal body to the primordial spirit. It could be said to be extremely evil. Divine finger of heavenly annihilation. The usage of this great compassion poem was extremely extreme, and similarly, its power was extremely evil. As Chu Xiu pointed out with his finger, Xian Longzi's lightning water-condensed sword was tainted by the sense of death and completely melted. However, as Chu Xiu pointed out with his finger, this martial skill also completely drained all the power in Chu Xiu's body, be it his earth qi or mental strength. Even now, Chu Xiu was still standing because of his strong willpower, so he didn't collapse. Xian Longzi let out a soft sound of surprise. He seemed to have underestimated this demonic kid. A martial artist at the unity of heaven and man realm was actually able to block his sword. Although he had only casually used this sword and didn't even use 50% of his strength, it was still shocking enough. In the past, only one young man had been able to do this, and that was Zhang Qingjin. Among the younger generation of Celestial Master Residents, or even the entire Celestial Master Residents, he was the only person that Xian Longzi liked besides the old Celestial Master. Chapter 614. Xian Longzi was from a Taoist sect, but he was a true madman. He did things based on his emotions and did not consider the consequences. The Celestial Master Abode had sent him to solve the problem of the Hidden Devil Clan, but he had wanted to incite the Hidden Devil Clan to fight to the death with the Great Light Temple. Now that he had seen Chu Xiu's power, he wanted to attack Chu Xiu on a whim. There was no logic to it. Xian Longzi had been locked up for 10 years, and there were even people in the Celestial Master Abode who wanted to lock him up for another 10 years to prevent him from jumping out and causing trouble. It was Zhang Daoling who put in a good word for this junior brother that allowed him to be released. In the end, the first thing that happened after he was released was that Xian Longzi was going crazy. At that moment, Xian Longzi raised his eyebrows when he saw Chu Xiu, who was like a lamp that had run out of oil and had no strength to resist at all. Just as he was about to do something, he heard a cold voice say, "Xian Longzi, I'm afraid that you've been locked up for too long and have gone crazy, right? Do you have no shame to attack a junior like you?" Demonic energy swept out and Chu Wuji's figure appeared in front of Chu Xiu. This made Chu Xiu let out a long sigh of relief. Actually, Chu Xiu had vaguely guessed that Wei Shuya and the others would not just throw him out and ignore him. After all, he was seeking revenge for the Hidden Devil Clan 300 years ago. There was no guarantee that this would not attract some big shot, an existence that Chu Xiu could not resist. However, Chu Xiu had never liked to put his life in the hands of others. Even if Chu Xiu knew that there was a high possibility of someone secretly supporting him, he still did his best. At this moment, Xian Longzi saw that the person who came was Chu Wuji. He rubbed his head and seemed to suddenly remember something. He said, "Oh, you're the unlucky prince whose country was destroyed by the Northern Yen. You're called Chu Wuji, right? You're right about one thing. I'm really shameless." "What's shame? What good will it do?" Chu Wuji's complexion turned black from anger. This Xian Longzi's mouth was truly poisonous, directly stabbing the most painful part of his heart. The reason why he was able to survive until now without being beaten to death was because he was strong and had a strong backer. "Xian Longzi, you're courting death." Chu Wuji had a good temper when he was young. Young Master Wei, Chu Wuji, was famous for being tolerant and magnanimous. He liked to make friends in the pugilistic world. As for the current Dharma Supreme Miao Yu, Chu Wuji, the impression in the hearts of the people of the Diabolism was that he was decisive and cold, and his temper could not be considered good. At this moment, hearing Xian Longzi's deliberate or unintentional ridicule, Chu Wuji immediately exploded. With a wave of his hand, demonic qi condensed in mid-air, and a blood moon faintly appeared. It fell from the sky, and in an instant, a sinister wind howled. Demonic qi surged violently, and its power was incomparably majestic. Xianlongzi's figure retreated like lightning, and he casually threw out 5 huge lightning bolts as thick as buckets. The 5 qi merged into one, and the power of yin and yang lightning burst out, smashing the blood moon. The Celestial Master Mansion's secret 5 Thunders true technique was displayed by Xianlongzi, and it was simply as if he was casually throwing garbage. A strange weapon appeared in Chu Wuji's hand. It was like a saber but not a saber, like a crescent moon, and there was an evil crimson color on it. This was Chu Wuji's famous divine weapon, Miao Yu. As Chu Wuji's hand moved, Miao Yu appeared in the sky, like a blood moon descending, and murderous intent was everywhere. Xianlongzi was also considered a talent. He could use one sentence to stimulate Chu Wuji to such an extent. Both of them were at the peak of the real pellet state. Chu Wuji was known as the powerhouse with the most hope to step into the real fire spirit refinement state in this generation of the Yinma lineage. Xianlongzi's limelight in the past even surpassed Zhang Daoling, who was now in charge of the Celestial Master Mansion on behalf of the old Celestial Master. It was conceivable how strong he was. It could be said that as long as it was not a life and death battle, the two of them would not be able to determine the winner in a short time. As the blood moon and lightning exploded, the surrounding world Yuan Qi within 100 zhang radius was completely sucked dry by the battle between the two of them. It actually formed a power vacuum zone, which was extremely terrifying. It was clear how astonishing the explosive power of the two of them was. The two of them fiercely exchanged dozens of blows, and in the end, they retreated almost at the same time. The two of them almost reached the peak that the real pellet state could accommodate, and their strength was not much different. If they really wanted to determine a winner, it would become a life and death battle. Chu Wuji naturally would not fight to death because of a sentence. Similarly, although Xianlongzi was a madman, he was just a little crazy in his actions. He was not the kind of person who would disregard his own life when he was crazy. Chu Wuji looked at Xianlongzi and snorted coldly. It was really a wrong decision for the Celestial Master Mansion to let you out. With your virtue, who knows when you will kill the Celestial Master Mansion? Xianlongzi laughed indifferently. Everyone does things the same way. What's the point of hesitating and worrying so much? Isn't it better to have a little more excitement? After looking at Xianlongzi coldly for a while, Chu Wuji spat out 2 words faintly, "You're crazy." He himself was also crazy. He actually tangled with this madman for so long. Chu Wuji turned and looked at Su Xing, who was clutching the wound on his chest, his aura extremely weak. Murderous intent appeared in his eyes, but he did not attack. He just sneered and said, "Su Xing, you are lucky that the madman came out to mess things up. Otherwise, even if Lin Yi did not kill you, I would have killed you." Chu Wuji's personality was similar to Chu Xiu's. In some aspects, he was also daring. It would have been fine if Su Xing did not come to provoke him, but now Su Xing dared to come to Ba Mountain Sword Sect to kill him. Then Chu Wuji did not mind killing him. But now, because of Xianlongzi's interference, killing Su Xing was for the Celestial Master Mansion to watch a good show. Chu Wuji did not want to kill him. Su Xing covered his wound and snorted. "If you want to kill me, then kill me. Do you think I'm afraid of you? You demonic villains, sooner or later, you will meet your end." Su Xing wasn't just spouting threats. He really wasn't afraid of death. The monks raised by the Great Light Temple had extreme personalities, but there were not many who were afraid of death. And Su Xing believed that if he died here today, his senior brother, the abbot, would kill 10 times as many demonic people to avenge him. Chu Wuji looked at Chu Xiu and said, "Well done. Elder Wei is waiting for you to celebrate. Let's go." As he spoke, Chu Wuji waved his hand and led Chu Xiu, Luo Sansong, and the others down the mountain. Luo Sansong and the others breathed a sigh of relief. Su Xing was not afraid of death, but they did not want to die for no reason. It was clearly a one-sided situation, and they were about to complete the mission. But in the end, martial arts grandmasters came one after another as if they were free. Who could stand this? Behind them, Xianlongzi watched as Chu Wuji left with his people. He did not stop them because he could not stop them. It would be fine if there was one more helper. But Xianlongzi glanced at Qin Jiankong. Forget about this trash. The only one who breathed a sigh of relief was Qin Jiankong. This group of fiends had finally left. Although the Xiang family had been killed in the end, at least the Ba Mountain Sword sect had not suffered too great a loss. But at this time, Xianlongzi suddenly said to Qin Jiankong, "What do you think will happen if I kill Su Xing?" Qin Jiankong's expression suddenly changed. If Su Xing died here, the Ba Mountain Sword sect would not be able to escape responsibility. But then Xianlongzi laughed and patted Qin Jiankong's shoulder. "Ha ha ha, I'm just playing with you. Monkey Qin, you're still as interesting as before. Why do you take everything so seriously?" Qin Jiankong's face darkened. If this continued, he would be toyed to death by this madman sooner or later. On the way down the mountain, Chu Wuji tossed a medicinal pill to Chu Xiu and said with a smile, "Kid, you completed the mission well this time. You did better than Senior Wei and I expected." Chu Xiu swallowed the pill. Immediately, a warm flow rose from his body like a stream, gradually replenishing Chu Xiu's strength. Pausing, Chu Xiu asked, "Then what did Elder Chu and Elder Wei imagine about me?" Chu Wuji said indifferently, "Actually, when Senior Wei gave you the list of names, he never thought that you would be able to deal with all the powers on the list. That's because the range of territories is too large. Even I wouldn't be able to do it. After all, I can't teleport. This matter is only to show the existence of my Yinma lineage. The key lies in the process, the meaning, and not the result. So as long as you can eliminate 1/3 of the forces on this list, which is almost the forces of a country, after attracting those big sects, I will naturally take care of it. If I can't, then there's still Elder Wei. But I didn't expect you to be so nimble. In the Battle of Red Maple Valley, you directly used a trick to make those forces come to your door to trap and kill them. You did well, really well, it saved me some effort." Although Chu Wuji's tone was indifferent, there was a trace of admiration in his eyes as he looked at Chu Xiu. There were too many factions in the Yinma lineage. Moreover, some of the older generation of Devil Dao martial artists were actually very strong, but when they were asked to really plan something, their actions could be said to be simple and crude. Chu Wuji had once discussed this matter with Wei Shuya. In any case, from Chu Wuji's point of view, Yin Mo lacked everything right now. Not only did he lack experts, but he also lacked an existence like Chu Xiu who had both ability and strength. Chu Xiu looked at Chu Wuji in surprise. He never thought that the Yinma lineage would secretly prepare to play such a big game. Isn't Yin Mo afraid of causing a real war between the righteous and the demonic? Chu Wuji shook his head and said, "We did not touch the bottom line of those righteous sects, so the war between the righteous and the demonic will not start. In the last battle at Floating Jade Mountain, it was because the 5 great sword sects went too far. They actually used my Devil Dao's good fortune demon flag as a joke. Speaking of which, my Yinma lineage should really thank the moon-worshipping cult. All these years, the moon-worshipping cult has been accumulating strength and keeping a low profile. Now that they have risen, their strength is indeed shocking. For those righteous sects, their enemy is not us rats, but the moon-worshipping cult." Chapter 615. The matter of the Ba Mountain Sword sect spread far and wide in the Jianghu, not only because of what Chu Xiu had done, but also because Xianlongzi had come out of seclusion again and fought with Chu Wuji. No matter how strong Lin Ye's status was, he could not compare to an expert like Xianlongzi, who had stirred up countless storms in the Jianghu 10 years ago. This madman had caused a lot of trouble in the Jianghu. He had not appeared in the Jianghu for a decade, and some people had forgotten him. But now that he had appeared again, many people, such as Qin Jiankong, gnashed their teeth in hatred. When everyone recovered from their shock and Xianlongzi reappeared in the Jianghu, the second thing was that Lin Yi had defeated Qin Jiankong and seriously injured Su Xing. One of these two was the sect leader of the Ba Mountain Sword sect. Although people of the same level knew that Chen Jiankong was not very strong, he was still a sect leader, and one of the top figures in the Jianghu. But he had been easily defeated by Lin Yi. And Su Xing, this person was even more unlucky. Previously in Xiaofan Heaven, Su Xing had been seriously injured by Lin Yi with the 7 demon swords. He had already lost face, and was regarded as one of Lin Yi's achievements in ascending to the Longhu ranking. However, at that time, Lin Yi had turned around and fled after severely injuring Xu Xing. Therefore, most people thought that Xu Xing had only been severely injured because he had been careless and allowed Lin Yi's sneak attack to succeed. In a head-on battle, Xu Xing's strength was actually superior to Lin Yi's. But this time at the peak of Ba Mountain, Lin Yi had defeated Chen Jiankong and then seriously injured Su Xing in front of so many warriors. This matter was quite shocking, so Wind's sweeping tower had raised Lin Yi's ranking from 3rd to 2nd, pushing Zhong Xian down. Although Zhong Xian was also very strong, he did not have such a brilliant record as Lin Yi. Of course, what was even more embarrassing was that Lin Yi had relied on heavily injuring Su Xing of the Great Light Temple to rank 2nd on the Longhu list. Therefore, if Su Xing had not chosen to chase after Lin Yi this time and had insisted on finding trouble with Lin Yi, he might not have stirred up so much trouble. Su Xing had also contributed a lot in helping Lin Yi rank 2nd on the Longhu list. It was said that when Su Xing, who was recuperating in the Temple of Great Light, heard this news, he was so angry that he spat out a mouthful of blood, and his injuries worsened. Moreover, the people of the pugilistic world had also heard that Wind's sweeping tower was prepared to give the Great Guangming Temple some face this time. They did not choose to promote Lin Yi to the 2nd place on the Longhu leaderboard. After all, the other party was from the demonic path. It was fine to suppress him a little. In the end, Xian Longzi, that lunatic, personally came to Dongqi's Nanliang city, to the headquarters of Wind's sweeping tower. He sat there and refused to leave. He insisted that Wind's sweeping tower adhere to the duty of a Jianghu news agent and that they could not engage in under-the-table operations. In the end, Wind's sweeping tower was truly afraid of this lunatic. They could only follow the normal procedure and promote Lin Yi to 2nd place on the Longhu leaderboard. Of course, Xian Longzi was not doing this to help Lin Yi. He only wanted to anger the Great Light Temple. Some of the unaffiliated martial artists were more interested in this pugilistic world's gossip, but some of the orthodox sects were slightly worried. If they were not careful, Lin Yi, who was from the demonic path, had already stepped into 2nd place on the Longhu leaderboard. Over the years, although there were also people from demonic path sects who had reached 1st place on the Longhu leaderboard, there were very few of them. No matter how one compared them, the number of martial artists from the orthodox path was the majority. In addition, Wind's sweeping tower would sometimes more or less suppress and deliberately ignore them. Therefore, in the recent hundreds of years, there were very few demonic path elites who could step into 1st place on the Longhu leaderboard. Lin Yi had only appeared in the pugilistic world for a short period of time, but he had already stepped into 2nd place on the Longhu leaderboard. Only God knew if he would step into 1st place. Fortunately, although Zhang Qingjun was no longer on the Longhu leaderboard, Chu Xiu was not weak either. It should not be a problem for him to stop Lin Yi from getting promoted again. Although Chu Xiu was also extremely ruthless and did not come from the orthodox path sects, at least he was not from the demonic path. He would not let people say that there was no talent among the younger generation of the orthodox path sections. Chu Xiu did not know about these things in the pugilistic world for the time being. At this moment, he was following Chu Wuji to the secret branch of the Yinma clan. The reason why the Yinma clan could hide so deeply was that the entire Yinma clan did not have a specific gathering place. Everyone usually fought on their own. Some of them were from sects, while others were alone or with some disciples. You could find one, but not all of them. Only when something big happened would Wei Shia, who was a senior member of the Yinma clan, appear and choose a place to gather everyone. The place that Wei Shia chose this time was the secret land of West Chu. Moreover, it was the kind of secret land that was hidden very deeply. It was even in another independent space. It was said that the ancient experts had the strength to open up an independent space. However, that was only a legend. No one knew whether anyone could do this. However, there were indeed many secret places in the pugilistic world. They were in independent spaces. After setting up a formation, they were extremely hidden and difficult to be discovered. West Chu was relatively dangerous for the Yinma clan. Whether it was the moon-worshipping cult or the celestial master mansion, they were actually the enemies of the Yinma clan. Therefore, the secret land that was set up here was also extremely hidden. Even except for Luo Sansong and Zhao Qingping, who were relatively strong in the Yinma clan, other people were not even qualified to enter this place. After dispersing most of the people, Chu Wuji led Chu Xiao and a few others into the innumerable huge mountains. After twisting and turning for a long time, they found a huge banyan tree that was as thick as 5 people. As Chu Wuji made a seal in his hand, a huge door suddenly appeared on the banyan tree. Chu Wuji took the lead to walk in with his people. A black light flashed in front of Chu Xiao, but his figure appeared in a dark space. There was only a faint light in the center of this place. The surroundings were pitch black. Of course, it was not completely dark. It seemed that there were black shadows surrounding in the air, emitting a faint green light. Looking carefully, it turned out to be a high platform with a bronze throne standing on it. There was a figure sitting on each bronze throne. There were more or less people standing behind them, but their specific faces could not be seen. Moreover, the bronze throne seemed to have the effect of concealing one's aura. At least, from where Chu Xiao stood, he could not sense any aura from the bronze throne at all, nor could he see any faces. Chu Wuji nodded at Chu Xiao, then led Luo Sansong and the others to a high platform and stood behind him. At the same time, an old voice came from the bronze throne on the high platform. I'm sure everyone already knows about the rumors in the Jianghu. Lin Yi is the most outstanding talent of the Yinma clan. This time, he will represent the Yinma clan to take revenge for the grudge from 300 years ago. With one battle, he will make the Yinma clan famous in the Jianghu. I dare say that in the entire Yinma clan, no one can compare to Lin Yi. Even in the Bright Demon clan, whether it is the boy who swallowed the blood dragon's inner elixir and cultivated the demonic beast cultivation method, or the short-lived saintess of the moon-worshipping cult, none of them can compare to Lin Yi of the Yinma clan. Chu Xiao could tell that the person who spoke was Wuxia. The thrones on the high platform were surrounded by people. Those who were qualified to sit on the thrones were obviously people of the Yinma clan who were qualified to sit on the same level as Wuxia in terms of strength and experience. Looking at the number, the strength of the Yinma clan was indeed much stronger than people in the Jianghu had imagined. However, these thrones did not seem to be full. It was unknown whether those people did not come or they had already died. At this time, hearing Wuxia's words, some people on the high platform sneered. The people sitting on the thrones were the real big shots of the Yinma clan. The others should be their disciples or people on their side, just like Chu Wuji. Chu Xiao remembered that Mr. Lu or Chu Wuji had once told him that this opportunity was personally given to him by Wuxia, but it caused some dissatisfaction among the other big shots of the Yinma clan. Because this was a good opportunity to make a name for himself, and it was not difficult. If someone else had led the team, although they would not have done as well as Chu Xiao, the process itself was more important than the result. As Chu Wuji had said, as long as Chu Xiao could get rid of 1/3 of the forces on the list, the task would be completed. Therefore, many big shots had wanted to get their disciples and successors to do this, but Wuxia had forcefully rejected them. After all, Wuxia was the only survivor of the 5 skyscraping demons in the 9th heaven mountain. He had the absolute priority to make the decision on this matter. But now it seemed that there were still many people who were dissatisfied with him. Wuxia glanced in that direction coldly and said coldly, "Since when do these juniors have the right to be sarcastic in the alliance's meeting? Don't you have any rules? If you can't control your disciples, then I'll do it for you." As soon as he finished speaking, the devil chi around Wuxia surged faintly, and its power was extremely terrifying. Although Wuxia looked like an old man on the surface, he was one of the 5 skyscraping demons of the 9th heaven mountain who dared to fight against the entire orthodox martial world in the past. He was known as a giant of the diabolism. Now that he was angry, the entire place fell silent. After glancing around, Wei Shiya said in a deep voice, no one can doubt Lin Ye's ability, and his strength is also recognized. Among the younger generation of the pugilistic world, only Lin Yi is able to stand shoulder to shoulder with the elites of the orthodox martial world. The rules of the Yinma clan are very simple. With strength and ability, you can obtain everything. Therefore, I propose to open the devil heavenly realm left behind by the former patriarch Dugu to Lin Yi for 24 hours. As soon as he said this, the big shots of the diabolism who had been silent all this while shouted angrily at almost the same time, impossible. Some of them even couldn't help but stand up, showing how agitated they were. Chapter 6:16. The Devil Heaven realm was very important to the hidden devil lineage because it was said that it contained the inheritance of Dugu Weiwei. The Devil Heaven realm wasn't called the Devil Heaven realm before. It was just a secret realm that Dugu Weiwei used for seclusion in the past. When the Kunlun devil cult was still around, no one dared to enter it except for Dugu Weiwei. However, when Dugu Weiwei was about to fight with Ning Xuanji, he suddenly told his trusted subordinates about the method to enter the Devil Heaven realm, but he didn't say what it meant. Later on, with the destruction of the Kunlun devil cult, the hidden devil lineage hid in the dark and didn't dare to show themselves. The inheritors of Dugu Weiwei's trusted subordinates wanted to open the Devil Heaven realm to see if Dugu Weiwei had left anything behind. However, it was a pity that after they entered the Devil Heaven realm, apart from observing the traces left behind by Dugu Weiwei and comprehending some things, they didn't get any unexpected gains. Therefore, in the following hundreds of years, many experts and young elites of the hidden devil lineage had entered the Devil Heaven realm, but they didn't get anything. However, the descendants still felt that Dugu Weiwei wouldn't be so bored that he gave the method to open the Devil Heaven realm to others. There must be a deeper meaning behind it, but the descendants were stupid and didn't comprehend it. Currently, the Devil Heaven realm was controlled by the entire hidden devil lineage and was sealed by a large formation. All the big shots of the hidden devil lineage had to agree to work together to undo the formation's restriction before they could enter. However, the conditions to open the Devil Heaven realm were a little harsh, so it wasn't easy to enter. The Devil Heaven realm was originally a secret realm. Every time it was opened, it required a large amount of energy as the energy source. Moreover, the more people entered, the more energy the Devil Heaven realm would devour. To the Dugu Weiwei of the past, this pitiful amount of energy was nothing. He could gather it with a wave of his hand. However, to others, even if they were in the true fire spirit refinement realm, it would be extremely strenuous for them to face this amount of energy. Therefore, the hidden devil lineage was actually using a 5-colored spirit crystal to activate the Devil Heaven realm. However, the 5-colored spirit crystal was too precious, so the conditions to open the Devil Sky territory were very strict. Not to mention the small conditions, just the fact that everyone had to agree was very difficult. Moreover, the longer it was opened, the more power the 5-colored spirit crystal would consume. Therefore, the Devil Sky territory hadn't been opened for more than a decade. Everyone wanted to fight for this opportunity for their descendants or inheritors. Even if he couldn't obtain the legendary Dugu Weiwei's inheritance, he would still be able to gain some insights and benefits from it. Now, Wei Shiya was going to give this opportunity to Chu Xiu, and he was going to give it to him for 24 hours. This was almost the same time as the time a martial Dao Grand Master spent in it. How could they accept this? Wei Shiya looked around and said calmly, "What? Are you not convinced? Then tell me, who among the younger generation can guarantee that they can defeat Lin Yi? Your descendants happen to be here. Let's compete on the spot. Whoever wins will get this opportunity. How about it?" As soon as these words were spoken, everyone present instantly fell silent. Because this was something that was utterly impossible. Although many people were not convinced by Chu Xiu, they were not confident that they could fight with Chu Xiu. At this time, a low voice said, "Wei Shiya, this is against the rules. How long has it been since Lin Yi officially joined our hidden devil lineage? You should know the meaning of the Devil Sky territory. It's unreasonable to open it to him now, and we won't be able to convince the public." An old voice echoed, "That's right. Lin Ye's contribution is great, and he should be rewarded. However, the Devil Sky territory is of great importance. Unless you can find a rare treasure like the 5-colored spiritual crystal to support the operation of the Secret Realm's formation, it's a once-in-a-decade opportunity. Some disciples of the hidden devil lineage didn't get it even though they became middle-aged from the younger generation. It's unreasonable for Lin Yi to be ranked ahead of them. Wuxia said expressionlessly, "Why is our hidden devil lineage like those righteous sects? Why do we always talk about this nonsense?" Someone in the dark said, "It's not about talking about reason, but about the rules. Breaking the rules is equivalent to breaking the stability of our hidden devil lineage. Therefore, we have to discuss the Devil Sky territory again." On the high platform, there was another round of discussion, but almost all of them were against Chu Xiu's idea. Although not all of them were against it, at least 80% of them did not support Chu Xiu's idea. Wuxia didn't say a word in the face of these strange objections. After the voices faded, Wuxia said coldly, "Are you done?" Looking around, Wuxia said indifferently, "You seem to have forgotten one thing. In fact, I'm not the orthodox of the hidden devil lineage. In the past, when the 9 heavenly mountains and the 5 heavenly demons alliance raised the flag, they also looked for you to strengthen our momentum, but you all refused. You are afraid of death, but some people are not. My big brother and the other 3 fought with their lives in the righteous martial world, leaving the last backbone for our diabolism. I, Wuxia, don't think I've done anything wrong to the diabolism, but your actions today have disappointed me. Although I'm a useless old man, I still have some face. Lin Yi is still young, and he has a bright future ahead of him. One must be kind and honest. You can't help him, but you can't stop him from doing what he wants. You don't agree to open the Devil Sky realm. Fine, I'll take Lin Yi to Yixiaonan. I believe that the moon-worshipping cult's immortal ascension lake will be happy to let us use it." Hearing this, the expressions of the hidden devil lineage's big shots changed. One of them said quickly, "Elder Wei, we can discuss this. Don't make trouble." Wuxia said indifferently, "Do I look like I'm joking? Hidden devil and bright devil are both devils. How can the hidden devil lineage talk about reviving the Kunlun devil cult with this kind of virtue? It's better to be realistic and hug the moon-worshipping cult's thigh. Anyway, I don't have a deep relationship with the orthodox Kunlun devil cult. Many of the hidden devil lineage's experts felt a toothache because they couldn't figure out whether Wuxia was serious or just threatening them. In terms of origin, Wuxia belonged to the Devil Dao. However, he wasn't like the other hidden devil lineage's people, who had a long heritage that could be traced back to the Kunlun devil cult. In his early years, he was closer to a Devil Dao rogue cultivator. In the 9 heavenly mountains' 5 great devils gathering, the 5 of them were actually not from the orthodox Kunlun devil cult. Wuxia didn't have a deep relationship with the hidden devil lineage. Even the current Chu Wuji, Luo Sansong, and the others were mostly loyal to Wuxia, not the entire hidden devil lineage. Given Wuxia's strength and Lin Ye's status in Jianghu, if they really chose to join the moon-worshipping cult, Yixiaonan would probably personally go out to welcome them. To be able to get 2 experts, one old and one young, as well as Chu Wuji, a martial Dao grandmaster who was still in his prime, the grudges of the past were nothing to the moon-worshipping cult. Especially Yixiaonan, this person was a big shot in the demonic path. If Wuxia and Lin Yi came to join, with Yixiaonan's character, he would definitely not refuse. In the immortal Ascension Lake, the holy land of the moon-worshipping cult, legend had it that only the leader and the saintess were qualified to enter it to cultivate. If Lin Yi could join the moon-worshipping cult, it wouldn't be difficult for him to cultivate for 10 days or half a month with his status. Many of the demonic path big shots present secretly communicated. This matter was really tricky. If Wuxia and Lin Yi were really forced to join the moon-worshipping cult, then their hidden devil lineage would really become a joke. After a long while, someone said in a deep voice, "Lin Yi can enter the Devil Sky realm, but 12 hours is too long. The consumption of 5-color spirit crystal is too high. You have to leave some opportunities for future generations, right?" Ordinary martial artists who haven't reached the real pellet state can only enter the Devil Sky realm for 6 hours. How about we give Lin Yi 12 hours? Wuxia waved his hand and said, okay. In fact, Wuxia's initial offer of 24 hours was just to leave room for negotiation. 12 hours was more than enough. Then let's do it, open the Devil Sky realm. The big shots of the hidden devil lineage were not in a good mood. With their strength and status, it would be strange if they were in a good mood after being threatened in this way. Of course, Wuxia could only use this method once. The second time would make people feel disgusted. If it was the third time, perhaps he would completely break off with the entire hidden devil lineage. Devil Sky realm was a mystic realm. The way to open it was in the hands of many big shots of the hidden devil lineage. In fact, the main thing was the outer sealing array. Everyone must open the enchantment together. Many of the hidden devil clan's elders present made hand seals at the same time. In the center of the entire venue, a large formation with incomparably complicated patterns emerged. In the center, there was a strange 5-colored crystal stone that emitted an extremely dense power of heaven and earth. As everyone opened the array, a portal appeared in the array. Wuxia said in a deep voice, "Go in and estimate the time. The array will close after 12 hours. After saying that, Wuxia waved his hand gently at Chu Xiu. A spiritual force poured into Chu Xiu's body. It was a piece of information, a detailed description of the inside of the Devil Sky realm. It contained the experiences of previous people who had entered the Devil Sky realm. It could help Chu Xiu quickly familiarize himself with the environment in the Devil Sky realm and comprehend those things without wasting time. Chu Xiu nodded and walked straight into the portal. His eyes suddenly became pitch black. When he saw light again, a magnificent scene appeared in front of him. Dark clouds and demonic chi soared into the sky, the ground cracked, and lava erupted. A throne made of white bones extended from the ground to the sky, and a figure dressed in a black robe sat on the white bone throne. As the figure slowly raised his head, Chu Xiu was shocked to discover that the person's appearance was exactly the same as his. To be precise, it was exactly the same as his appearance in his previous life. You're tuning into the Carefree Valley YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.